It's why we play out the game. Is because you never know if a player just goes insane, or you never know if there's going to be a glaring weakness in that defense that the attack can exploit.
It's gonna come down to, again, like you said, what we see in the actual inside of the server, and it's especially hard with this game because, as we mentioned before, of the 3 weeks of NECC we've only seen these two teams play once each between forfeits and bye weeks, so they haven't had much of a chance to show everyone what they're really made of, and what they have been able to do is, not really that much. Technically, they have results against the same team, so we could cross-reference that, but they were both forfeits, so we can't really cross-reference that. As we hop into the map ban, or the first map, and the operator bans inside of said map, we can finally actually get into some analysis, and Jackal, the only one that stands out to me as a little bit less conventional of a ban, at least for comp. However, this is a couple steps down from the T2, T3 competitive that I'm used to watching, and when I'm taking that into account, it does make sense, and so does everything else that I see on the ban phase.
But leaving that Mira up, you still have operators like Tuberal, like Fenrir, like Soulless that can really make your lives difficult. And there's a reason that you have some of these defenders banned out. There's no Fenrir being brought on that basement side that you usually would if he was up. Instead, Arcadia are gonna bring a Clash first round. It's a bold pick to kind of bring that out immediately. I would assume that Arcadia have that in their strategies, but most don't. And that's simply because Oregon is one of those sites, the basement site at least, where you can just hunker down, bring so much gadgetry that it's hard for the attack to really get in based on the geometry of the map itself. But Clash can make that so much harder, and it seems like Arcadia is trying to just push their thumb in to that ability and make it so that Queens, even if they get into the site, you still have to get past that Clash.
Good bit of other delay util they've got on board as well. You bring the Tuberal, you bring the Smoke. Would have liked to see a Goyo, more delay, more ability to prevent the attackers from making forward progress as they try to get towards the bomb site. But sometimes, that you can only bring so much, and the Wamai and the Warden are not bad selections either. So everything on the defense does make sense in terms of trying to prepare for that pillar-sided take and trying to slow it down as much as possible. Very prepared, in fact, for the pillar/blue-sided take, that they are setting the Clash up inside of construction first, making sure that she is showing presence as early as possible so the defense, or rather the attack, is not able to really do too much, or already knows that they have to adjust to it. So she's establishing that presence quickly, making sure they know that she's there. The Queens have already taken up pretty solid positions, especially given that they're only a minute in.
And gotten the shield down. Without any roamers, Queens can take a lot of time to see if they can deal some damage to the Clash.
Wow.
Maybe pepper some of these roamers back. And you saw with the Zofia nade that Taboo's shield got pushed away for a little bit, and that's exactly when they were able to take some damage. I think the Rotero, the idea was that they were trying to get Taboo to bring their shield out, but that doesn't happen. While those two are distracted over in the blue bunker, it's Disciple who's going to strike first onto Answer. It's not without a refrag, though, and it seems like Arcadia has to be ready for the storm that's coming their way.
Oh no, they're not ready at all for that very storm, and it's Hurricane Babrielle that's able to get the next kill. Advantage again to the attack. Mud exchanges some shots downrange with Babrielle. Gonna take a little bit of damage, but deal out more of it, and then deal out a lethal amount just afterwards. A good trade back to make it a 3-on-3, and the defenders know exactly where this push is coming from, so they should have advantageous angles, but no, Sunday has other plans. Another kill for the attack as they continue to remain at the advantage, but they keep pulling it back, Arcadia do. They keep pulling it back. Mutt gets more, and now it's a 1v1, him versus Grass Eater. Stuck inside of Elbow is the Zofia. And basically no way of getting out other than fighting her way through, but you cannot beat Mutt in fights this round. I don't know how many times he has to teach you that lesson, but it's 4 times in round 1 alone that he puts the other team down. Round 1 to the defense.
Arcadia able to essentially steal one away. Because I don't think with how they played, with how Queens was able to entry their way into the site, that they probably should not have eked it out. You can see they just were a little bit blind to what Queens were bringing once they were actually able to get themselves in and around that site. But sometimes, I mentioned it even before the map starts, sometimes there is just a player who puts the team on their back and gets things done, and that round is not one without Mutt at the end of the day. And Queens just kind of gotta think about it and say, hey, we know that we can be better than this team, and that one round definitely showed that you can get the better of them, but you're still going to have to fight back. It's not going to be one step and you win. Siege is a lot more complicated than that. And as we swap over onto dorms, this is actually a little bit easier for the attack, given how, the lineup of the actual site is. You can see with the IQ being brought with that Grim, they want to make sure that they can hunt down those roamers, maybe take down some Kaid claws.
Into round number 2, they move Mutt over to a zombie Warden, still being brought in the team comp. However, the Warden on Electric this time, perhaps feeling as though it's the Operator that got a buff, or that gave Mutt the buff in that last round. So you want to share the love, share the kills, and share the ability to try and get in the board with picks. Also, the 919, still a very solid gun in its own right. They've certainly got a plan in terms of what to use those Kibas for. Very strong Operator on this objective, but for now, in terms of where the attack seems to be coming from, it looks like it's just a master-sided attack, and oh my goodness, it just is the MPX's day today. Electric gets a very early opening kill, traded out though by Disciple finding a frag, a very impactful one, because not only is that a zombie down, but it's also Mud, who we know is a huge threat.
Disciple getting armory this easily as well, able to get the kill. I think this is a persistent problem that Arcadia seems to have, is they might be individually good gunners, but they're giving up pivotal parts of the site way too easy. You could see there was a shield deployed in that trophy room area that usually does indicate that the team wants to play there, but there is nobody there. And if Cloak doesn't win this fight over in the lobby, Arcadia have absolutely no chance at pulling this back. It is a 4v2. Queens have so much by their side, and now with that final kill onto Cloak, it's all in Taboo's hands.
It's info that one's on White Stairs. He's hoping for some kind of isolated pick on the big window before he tries to address everything else. He realizes that's not really going to happen. Getting pushed from White Stairs, good swing on a 1, but Grass Eater swings at the same exact time. He'll take down Taboo, and Arcadia with a great response in round 2.
So, I've noticed that. Have Queens noticed that there is a pattern between those two rounds? Arcadia is going to go back to the dorms, mostly going to bring the exact same lineup. The only difference is going to be Electric on the Thorn instead of the Warden, so you're still going to have maybe a little bit of Fragger-based player instead of something like Utility, like maybe you bring a Jaeger or something along those lines. It is a team problem. Like, it's not just one player ignoring their key position. It seems like this is just the strategy that Arcadia likes to bring, but I don't know if it's going to work in the long run, at least given what we've seen. Because I made my statement known in round 1 that Arcadia probably should not have won that, but like individual players, they can be a hell of a thing.
And the Uzi, a very good gun, so individually Electric can definitely step up like he did at the start of last round. I also specifically like the swap on the Thorn, just because, I don't know about you, but to me it feels like sometimes Arcadia just aren't ready for Queens to walk up as soon as they do, or just the timing is off. They know where to look, they know what to anticipate, but I feel like a couple times now, we've been watching someone on Queens push forward on a pretty expectable angle, but it's just how quickly they're doing it that's catching Arcadia off guard. So the use of those razor blooms is that you'll know when people are pushing the angles that you didn't know when they were pushing them before. So I do like that swap in particular, not just because of the gun, but also because you have some more info as to when you're getting pushed from certain areas, so you'll know where to train your sights first, and the guns will be as effective as they can be.
Electric being that first stalwart defense that Queens is going to have to go through if they want to access this armory corridor. You could see the drone going its way through Master. I believe that was Munchie. But there's that shield that Arcadia gave away really early in the last round. It's very, very powerful simply because Master is a comfy spot that the attack wants to be. If you deny that, it's going to be very good for you. But Mutt Fallen, and if Electric dies behind this shield, that's so much space and so much manpower that is essentially dissipated for the defense. Already things not going their way, but it is not over by a long shot.
Still not a terrible start. Like you said, it's better than last round. By this point last round, I want to say that Queens were making a lot more progress in maybe not as many different areas, but they were still making more progress and finding more success already. But that's a rough rotate back. Electric caught trying to stick around too long inside of Trophy. The attic pressure comes through, so he knows he needs to get away. But great play from Grass Eater to set up on that rotate. So when he knows that the player is going to have to rotate out of Trophy, you can catch that rotate quite easily. Cloak is still towards the top of Armory Stairs, though. This could be a very impactful position if they're not ready for it. But he shoots too quickly, and now they will be ready. He has to evacuate down the Armory Stairs, which means it's effectively a 5v2 on the bomb site with no one well positioned to deal with a walk-in from Trophy. This is going to be really, really hard for the defense to hold off in these last 40 seconds. But for now, they just wait, as it seems imminent that Queens could try and go for a push anytime soon. And Arcadia just waiting for it. They don't want to get over aggressive for now. They know they don't have the man advantage, but that's a good kill to find. You find the right timing on the swing on a Sunday, but Disciple's into the site, but he's not looking in the right corner. Answer takes him down. A 3v4 now that Sunday's been picked back up. Babrielle is still towards Big Window, and so too is Grass Eater. So they're very split up on this defense, and Answer's got Munchie. So now it's really just Sunday over where he was with the case, but he's so isolated. Both of his teammates are on Big Window. So this C4 should work. They're not pushing him, though. They didn't get the kill on the planter. A triple kill for Answer, and then he makes it a quad. Somehow, that roller coaster of a round that shouldn't have been that close for either team, it feels like, will end in the favor of Answer, and the defense goes up 2-1.
Queens had so much going into that final push. They had the Big Window, they had Trophy, they had attic as well, which if you can gain that control, the world is your oyster at that point. But Arcadia didn't use any of it. They just stayed in Trophy. Disciple with the diffuser ran through that attic rotate, got punished, and that had to be picked up. It's a lot of moving parts. I realize that with a lot of bodies, but Queens weren't able to synchronize in that last 45 seconds, and their whole push just kind of goes kaput, because now they're racing against the clock, and they're racing against the dwindling members that they're having to throw at the enemy simply because they're not walking in together. They don't have the ability to get the trades that you ideally want when you're up 5v3 man count wise. Queens definitely have what it takes. Absolutely. But that Dorm's attack does sow a little bit of doubt in my mind when it comes to the fundamentals that I talked about in the pre-show.
Yeah, you don't need two people on that Big Window. That's the biggest thing that I thought about that last round. Still, though, shows that they are individually very talented to even make that situation as winnable as it was. That should have been pretty simple for Arcadia to win once they deny that plant. But Queens were able to make it close. Unfortunately, close, not close enough in that case. Now they have to go back into that basement attack. But nothing changed at all, really. Since the last time we've seen them here, they've only made the swap from Tubarão over to Fenrir, which is only set to make it even more annoying to attack for Queens, and give them more info as to when Queens choose to push. Another issue that I mentioned Arcadia having the last time, but still no roam. So that means that Arcadia give up all this control, and Queens will take it all within 45 seconds. They are not wasting any time, but they've just wasted a body to the smoke. Good trade, though, from Grass Eater.
Let's take the smoke, though. The big first pick is always something that you really do want, but a smoke for a Nomad on a basement defense is kind of hard to swallow at the end of the day. Arcadia, they've positioned themselves around Freezer and around Launcher. That is very doable as a defense. You can focus yourself simply on those two entries. You can see Mutt reinforcing that wall, signifying that Arcadia knows that where this push is coming from and is dedicating their defenses. Mutt's going to be able to take down Sunday, and Taboo does go down, but suddenly Queens has the advantage.
When did that happen? Munchie and Disciple turn it on its head, and now Arcadia again take up very far back positions. That is until Cloak chooses to activate at the right time, and Disciple caught moving too far forward. Now, what looked like it could be turning back in favor of Queens turns again in the favor of Arcadia, and Grass Eater is the only one left to try and keep this roller coaster round on course for Queens. And he's not got the greatest position in the world. Sees a little bit of the head of the Fenrir, but Cloak quicker on the trigger and more accurate to boot. Another round to Oregon's defensive side first.
Now we see Arcadia put themselves up 3-1. All of these just feel like they're coming down. So in those clutch moments, Queens aren't getting it done. That they can get that first pick. They can get map control. But they can't close it out. I'm left scratching my head, wondering what needs to change for this team. Because on paper, everything is fine. But in reality, they are down 1-3 when they probably should be near leading at most. So Queens, this is going to be your next best shot. The tertiary site, you're going to have to attack that top floor even with that clash, which is going to be a lot easier when you're not in that basement area. They've got the glass to boot, so maybe that'll indicate that they are going to go towards that small tower side, go for a very quick entry plant type thing. But I don't know. There's a lot of questions, and so far Queens haven't brought solid answers.
Well, if it's any consolation, this site definitely significantly easier to win on the attack than the two before it. And they're not opting to go small tower like you had hypothesized. Instead, they opt to go for big tower. Likely just gonna, thermite charge open the stage wall and try and get a plant down on the back side. And there isn't really a ton to deny that plant from going down. Impact still left on the defense, but those need to be pretty accurate and numerous in order to have as much effect as a nitro cell, of which you only have one on Mutt. Playing your mute, not likely going to be too close and in a great position to really deny that plant from going down. Taboo in a good spot here on Attic to try and deny the push forward, and he can block the frag grenades, so there isn't really much of a way to easily counter him. This is an awkward spot for Queens.
Yeah, and you see with with that Goyo behind the clash, you simply get dusted. They don't have many options besides throwing themselves at the enemy. I think you can get a great little pinch with Sunday, but Answer tries to take the angle and is dropped. Electric's going to be there for the follow. They get the revive as well. The timing just isn't there for Queens. And what could have been an opportunity just slips away.
Could have been, but in fact wasn't. Now you're using a thermite charge on that wall without having cleared the dorm side. Well, the tone in my voice is not an accident. I am a little perplexed as to what the thought process was there. And in general, it didn't feel like there was a lot of depth behind the thought process in this round. Is Mutt able to get another one? Their real thought, it just seems like they were like, okay, we'll take big tower, and then we'll be good. That didn't happen. They had to deal with a clash there, and then they didn't have like a backup plan. So now Gabriel left alone, 1 versus 5, not too likely for him to win. I kind of want him to just chill, not really do too much, and let the team talk things over, because they looked pretty solid to start, but this round, on what's hypothetically the easiest, the easiest site to win, has kind of been their worst so far. So I would like if Queens would take a second to just try and figure out why that is. Instead, Gabriel, choosing to try and do the impossible, gets a knockdown, so that's almost an opportunity at a KD boost, but no frag grenades left on him, so no chances at boosting said KD, and he's only got about 10 health left, and there's a clash on the other side of the wall, but he gets caught in the Pokeball instead, as Taboo could have killed him with the electrocution, but didn't want to wait that long. And Queens, now after that, choose to take their tactical timeout to do as I had suggested and try and figure out what the issue is.
Is it too late to time out, though? You've seen Arcadia go on a roll. I am the philosophy of better late than never, however, so
Yeah.
actually using it is better than some teams we see. So taking this time, it's never really going to hurt you if you're not going to discuss strategy. It just gives you a little bit of space in between the momentum to maybe let the feelings cool, let the hot streak that Arcadia seems to be on dissipate for just a little bit. Can allow some refreshing. I know that 60 seconds isn't a lot, but you grab like a Mountain Dew from the fridge or something. Then we get back into it.
Are you projecting on them? Are you projecting your love of Baja Blast onto Queens?
No, I don't have a Baja Blast, unfortunately. The store ran out of 12 packs, so
That's awful.
It's truly horrific. But if Queens don't get the attack, this last one for the 5-1, they'll be definitely thinking that it's more horrific than no Baja Blast.
It could be argued either way. I mean, it's still. But yeah, Arcadia have definitely started to pick things up. A number of rounds as well that Queens will look back on and think that, oh, we had it so close. What could we have done to just barely get that over the edge and even just get that second or third? Should they end this half at 5-1? Because the 1 or 2 extra attacking rounds on a map like Oregon is going to make a huge difference, especially given that you've left up operators like Tubarão and Fenrir, both of whom we see in this round, and both of whom we have seen used very effectively all the way through. And I think it is just because they had so many rounds towards the start that you felt like you just barely missed the mark on. I hope that's not resonating with them or sticking in their heads too much, because, you know, you don't want to lose the mental battle before the worst half of the game is even over. And you also don't want to lose that half so badly that there's no chance at coming back. So, really, the comeback can't start next half. It has to start here, at least in a mental regard. You need to start to get back on the board to some degree here as Queens.
I will say I don't think the operators are hurting you too bad, because we haven't seen too many Zoto canisters or FNAT dread mines that have impeded Queen's progress. It's mainly just been the guns that are the issue. The Clash, which, if you ban Clash in competitive in 2024, you might get laughed on. Yeah, you might get laughed off stage, because nobody is probably gonna run Clash, much less know how to use her effectively. But so far, Arcadia have done exactly that. Not bringing it here. Instead, they do have that Fenrir electric back on the Thorn in that armory corridor that they were in previously. But walking down the Z hallway, it's Disciple potentially stuck between these two players alone. But they make the decision to jump out, not wanting to engage, not wanting to take that risk.
Blah, 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 something, something, ships in nighttime. You know the drill. They were really close to each other.
It passed my mind.
Yes.
I didn't say it.
Good. Yes, I know. I was thinking the same thing. But yes, they were really close. They could have shot at each other, but they didn't. Electric now getting shot at from behind, and Gabriel will be able to take him down. So that's a good kill to get from that satellite window. Gridlock is going to gridlock that one down. And still a lot of roam games from AU, and that really hasn't been going so well. Only one kill for them thus far, and it was Mutt, who was close to the objective, the one to get it. They've consistently been doing better once it gets into that later stages of the round and Queens have to try and break into the site. Feels like Queens are maybe lacking some util to get in there. Sunday, though, not lacking in firepower. He'll take down Mutt, a 4v2 that Arcadia has to crawl their way out of.
And Answer's holding a good position. And deny Munchie that spot you really want to get in through that plant. And you also can deny that armory entrance. Taboo, the angle over white stairs. Answer for one. You see, Queens is trying to go for a little bit of a pinch both onto Answer and onto Taboo. But with Answer finding a kill inside of the armory hallway, it slowly starts to diminish the numbers. Taboo's going to be able to get the headshot. It looks possible.
Wait. He's right there. The plant was right next to that rotate. Taboo needs to be watched for. He is being watched for. Very thankful for that. As Gabriel didn't need to watch anything but that exact angle. Eventually, was able to pivot to the right direction and take the round for Queens. A 4-2 half. Not too bad at the end.
It's a little scary because you actually make the trip to the attic rotator over towards the armory, and suddenly it's a 1v1 because Gridlock's got to make the big swing in, and it's very isolated. But you get the 2-4 half that you talked about before the actual map. That was like, oh, you in the basement. Oh, you get the 2-4 half on the attack. Yada yada yada.
The 2-4 half on the attack.
It's like you're prophetic.
No, it's like this map has been played for like 6 years and does the same thing all the time.
You know what? You know what's crazy? I think Oregon is not that old. Like reworked Oregon.
Well, like I don't think it's 6 years.
old.
That was definitely hyperbole. But what, like 4 years? I want to say.
I remember I looked at where like the reworked maps were, and some of them like time has passed, and it's like there's no way it's been like that long or that short. This map has felt like it's been in the pool for forever.
It's been almost 4 years since the Oregon rework. It was March of 2020, according to Google. So yeah, that's when this map has started to exist in its current form. So it's been 4 years, and I believe since the very start, it's been in the comp pool, but I don't know that for sure. That's kind of pulling back on memory. That was a very long time ago. There we go. But yeah, so it's been around a while, and these teams are playing like it. However, you bring some new things out, some unexpected things like a clash, and all of a sudden, teams that have been operating by the same checklist on the same map for so long completely have to rework their thought process in the 2 minutes they have left in the round to do that. Queens, though, not really doing anything too out of the ordinary. As a matter of fact, not really bringing anyone too new. The newest operator on their team is essentially a zombie who's been around quite a while, and the things you do with a zombie are already pretty well known. That angle peak initially from the bottom of White Stairs, not expected, not well known, and Grass Eater's going to get a good amount of damage onto Answer with that. Could have dropped the diffuser. This is a very unique setup they've got in Master Bedroom. I'm interested in seeing how Arcadia deal with this.
You're dying here. You are playing your life. You have that ADS, but that's not going to provide you that much coverage. Mutt has to use that explosive shard. Otherwise, I mean, they don't have much. And I mean,
Great timing. Great teamwork.
what did you expect? To be honest.
I mean, yeah, they go for the smoke now. Babriel seems to be caught in the bees, so they could try and pre-fire through the smoke, though behind the shields gets a little awkward. And the smoke actually effectively countering a Warden. A little disappointed, to be completely honest, by that happening.
I think
but
it was more the Grim, too.
That's true, yeah, but I felt like he couldn't really see much. Anyways, good kill for Sunday. Another one back for Taboo. We still find ourselves in a one-man advantage for Arcadia, but this pesky little Warden will not get off of his shield and trophy. Even though all of his teammates are dying all around him, he's still able to turn on electric, get a knockdown. Not quite able to convert that, but in a very weird spot to try and revive. So Babriel could very easily find another pick here. However, he himself picked onto, and things slowly getting worse and worse. It's only left to Grass Eater, who has a decent position towards the back of his site. Prepared for one towards White Stairs. Wants to find that kill before he gets into the process of dealing with everybody else. But playing this intelligently is Taboo. He knows he could just lay back and wait for the rotate, play crossfires with his teammates, and as a matter of fact, he can do that. Take a little bit of a one-way, awkward, prone fight against Grass Eater and win it at that. Great round for the attackers in their very first.
It's pretty clinical, and I think most of Queen's strategies felt like they did a little bit of talking. I mean, you had Munchie being as close as you possibly can with that master area, and that's when you just gotta scrap. Like, throw it out the window, watch it burn, because you're not going to get anywhere with that, because you're not going to have the coverage from the player inside a trophy as well as you really want, because they don't have the angles to actually help you out. So from the beginning, Queens essentially throw a body, they throw a shield away, and I like the fact that they held on to certain positions very well, but it seems like Babriel wasn't communicated with, that there were a couple players inside of that attic, or that attic was relinquished by the defense. So it just led to a lot of clunkiness, and you leave Queens in a very uncomfortable position that you really don't want to leave them in as a teammate.
Queens left in an uncomfortable position in terms of the bomb site they have to go to next. They opt to go back upstairs, though, confident in the idea that their best site, their number one site, is still going to be their best. However, we'll have to wait a little while before we can actually get into the watching of that bomb site once more and the defense of it from Queens, because we need a rehost, unfortunately. Their domain and control as much of the map as possible, because that's not really something they've been doing on Oregon thus far. Speaking of which, we're finally back, same site as last round, and we see if Arcadia can close this out or if Queens will make Oregon a closer affair once they get comfy on their defense.
Nothing too much changed on that defensive end. You've still got the Azami, a Warden, which will probably play behind that shield. There's only one shield, so you're either going to have to commit to a trophy hold, or you have to commit to that master bedroom hold with Gabriel, putting that shield inside of trophy. You make the right call. I've never seen that before, and it will always just befuddle me as to what the goal is. I mean, Arcadia's a little...
With the Master Shield?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I've seen it maybe a couple times, but normally they fall off of it sooner, or it's in a zombie, so you can, like, put the Kiba back up when the shield gets knocked down. And also, you're not, like, lying prone right behind it. Because if you're lying prone right behind it, exactly what happened is going to happen.
I could see it working in, like, a ranked setting, when there's no guarantee that your teammates are going to be communicating. But when you have a team that is, you know, coordinating with each other, it's pretty hard to do. Munchie is still playing inside a master bedroom, though. It's not behind a shield. It's not anything of the sort. It's just really close with that shotgun. And a simple drone kind of takes them out of the board. The Mew Jabber being there is a good play. That is going to be difficult to do. But there goes Answer. That is Disciple. I can't tell if that was through the entranceway or through that window, and it seems like it was through that armory single wall. So a good little shot there. Grass Eater is going to be able to get one, and with Munchie still hold out in the side of this door, this could be a great round for Queens.
As Arcadia right now, you just feel oppressed. You are getting challenged for everything you possibly could be getting challenged for. And a good adjustment here from Queens. They were doing this last round, but they weren't peeking off them as actively. They were passively sitting behind shields everywhere. So it was very easy for Arcadia to just coordinate and either flash things out or smoke things off or break the shields and then get the free kills on the players nearby that weren't trying too hard to take the actual engagements. Instead, this time, they're getting swung on every single angle, and of which there are a lot on this kind of armory extension over to hold trophy. So now, Arcadia are 3 players down just because they wanted to push into Master. Good kill there for Cloak. That's going to make things a little bit better, as Munchie now gone. And attic control has been gotten for the attackers, but on its own, that really isn't going to do too terribly much for you, and Cloak realizes that. So he's actually going to dip out, try and find some ground to control elsewhere, but it's not looking too great for Arcadia in this round. I like this.
Oh, this is a play. You're utilizing the time so you don't have to commit to anything. Taboo it there. You can zip up. The site is essentially free. There's nobody in there. And if you can use the rotates effectively, Arcadia has such a powerful play here. But Diffuser isn't inside the site, and now we're fully even. And why is Sunday doing that?
Taboo's jumped in big window. Case wasn't in control in the right spot. He had a great position in the corner, but it wasn't great enough to get the kills onto everybody. Gabriel has moved out of attic, but Taboo doesn't realize this. Now he does, though. He recognizes that he's just on the outside of the attic door. He walks into dorms, trying to take the challenge through the rotate, and a great pre-fire. Taboo and Cloak with an outstanding 2v5. 2 kills for the Therm, 3 for the Amaru, an outstanding hatch play, and another round to the attack.
A lot of times in situations like this, you ask, is it the defense? Is it the attack? And I feel like that is just so well done by Arcadia. A lot of that has to go to Cloak, making the decision to drop the hatch after getting the kill, zipping on in to that kids area and holding down the fortress, because you don't have the exact location of the Amaru. It's an unexpected play, and the defense clearly weren't ready for it. I still think at that point, It's around a 2v3. You realize what the play was for Arcadia, and Queens just has to recenter themselves. Recognize that Arcadia has to commit to this area, and you can essentially play defense around this part of the site. But instead, they're just trickling in, kind of one by one, giving those kills over to Arcadia. And at the end of the day, if you can't win that, Happy, what can you win?
Well, nothing on Oregon, that seems to be for sure. Good adjustment from Arcadia to recognize how far over everybody was. Because when you think about it, again, this goes to show that Arcadia are very good at picking up on the nuances of the Queen's defense. If there are 3 or 4 people shoving their guns in your face trying to enter specifically just master bedroom, then everywhere else is basically a gap. And that hatch is definitely going to be a gap, because it's not opened, and they're not necessarily prepared for you to Amaru up it. Granted, once the Amaru got a kill, that should have been calmed, and it should have been pointed out that that was a possibility, but even still, it comes completely out of nowhere, and that's what you kind of have to do. When you're at a man disadvantage, you need to take drastic measures, and the drastic measures in that case were jumping up a hatch and finding some kills, because still, no adjustment from Queens. They thought that the push was just going to be in Master the entire time, even after not seeing anybody over by that side for like a whole minute or so. They weren't prepared enough to have to adjust. They just gave fights over one by one to the players who somehow managed to sneak into dorms. That's not something you can allow to the attack whatsoever. So now 2 times through on that upstairs bomb site. Looks like they're going. However, we are yet to find the 5th player on the defensive side. So we're just waiting on that player to return, and then we'll finally get back into the action. Hopefully not too long of a wait just for one more round. That'd be kind of anticlimactic, but yeah, we will wait nonetheless.
The worst thing.
Yeah, match point.
When you're on the precipice of the match ending, or I guess the map in this case, and it's a rehost or it's a disconnect, and you just have to wait and wait. You don't know when it's gonna come back. I'm glad we, at least right now, we don't know too much. Hey, all we had to do was have our observer ask when they were going to get back. Here they are. We are going to return very shortly to the action at hand, where Queens is going to have to complete a really difficult comeback. That is 4 rounds in a row. They are going to have the advantage of that basement site to potentially start and end that quote-unquote comeback, but it's not impenetrable for the attack. We have seen that Queens have done a good job themselves getting inside, but when they need to finish the job, that's where they've struggled. Are Arcadia going to have the same issues with their own attack?
Well, it seems to be a very different defense fundamentally. Again, kind of more of a reliance on some guns. You're bringing a lot more info gathering, what with a deployable camera on Jaeger. Also, the ADS is to support the shield. That's why you're bringing him. But he has that camera and the Fenrir and the Razor Blooms. Both great for trying to figure out when Arcadia is pushing and where they will be pushing from. So you make sure that you have no gaps in your defense, which obviously is something that Queens struggled with last round, and it's something they continue to struggle with. It was also something that Arcadia struggled with, sort of, on their own defense, but they adjusted to it very quickly. We see Queens kind of making that same adjustment. Operators like Thorn, like Fenrir. So excited to see that into this round. However, seems to be going pretty quickly already from Arcadia, as they want to waste 0 time in this clear. However, unlike the Arcadia defense, there's actually a roamer on the basement objective, and that's Disciple, just trying to do whatever damage he can, waste whatever time he can, but he slowly falls back to the freezer stairs.
Good utilization of the phone call from Electric. Going to be quickly hung up by Disciple. I think there is a second one inbound, or at least that's what I saw. Maybe they're going on their drone. Either way, Disciple is going to be heading back down to the site. That's all the roamers cleared, but that's not usually the problem of the basement is the roamers. It's the execution. It's how you start everything. You have to get open these hatches, get the drones in, find a foothold. That is the issue with the basement attack is it's difficult to really get your foot inside of the actual site. And right now, with all those hatches getting opened and all the, checklist of the basement attack getting done, where's Arcadia going to centralize their attack to begin with?
It does seem like it's taken quite a while. The presence of that one roamer has slowed this attack to a screeching halt. And that was literally it. It was just Disciple running around on the near Z connector for like 45 seconds. And that's one of the strongest things about roaming on this map, especially when you're doing it against a less experienced team relative to some of the better teams in the world, such as Arcadia. They'll see that one roamer, and then all of a sudden, they may be worried that he's still there. They may be worried that there could be more in many different places. You really have to start checking everything. Or at least they feel the need to, and in reality, it's basically what you yourselves were doing, just a little bit of a fake roam. Worst case scenario, Disciple loses a bit of HP like he did. Best case scenario, the attack now has 30 seconds left, and they haven't even really started to work on Pillar. They're going to have to get that done now, but here's Grass Eater at the bottom of the blue stairs. Very ready for Taboo to push down. He's got a Supernova in hand. At that kind of a range, it's not necessarily 100% as to whether or not the shotgun will be effective, and it's not. Grass Eater gets the opening pick. Babrielle with another. Good trade back from Cloak, but he's only good for the one, and Grass Eater and Babrielle are both good for two, even a third for the Fenrir, and only one kill for the attackers, as Queen's not ready to give up on Oregon just yet.
There's that start. Like I said, you getting that beginning and ending round on basement can really boost you. But now they've got to go to dorms, and if they win this, they have to go to meeting or dining, both of which are really scary to get through. Last time you were here, it was a 5v2. It almost seemed impossible to toss away, given everything that was on the board, and yet still it happened until it's still on to Queens, to how they adapt. They played close with the shotgun. They still kept the shield over in Trophy. They opened the wall in that armory hallway. Everything worked in unison until the end. Happy. That's always the issue with Queens, is that their setup is so good, but when they just need to put the period on the sentence, they can't do it. I think they'll do great to start off with, but when we get to that 45-second mark, I can't say what exactly is going to happen.
Well, third time's the charm is what they say. We'll have to see if that rings true when it comes to defending the top floor of Oregon. Normally, you don't have that many tries. And normally, if you tried to put Munchie in Master 2 times in a row, and it doesn't work either one, you wouldn't do it a third time.
I mean,
but Munchie stands on business. He doesn't. He's not the problem. It's not on Munchie. He hasn't been like he got opening pick on his team, but like
because they tried to attack it and they got dropped.
But they just need to be ready to switch things up. Cloak can't catch them off guard from Attic again. They need to be prepared to call an audible when it's necessary. And in this case, Arcadia kind of called an audible from the start, coming into this round thinking, we're not going to try that hard to get Master. Instead, we're going to put 2 or 3 players towards Attic first, try to get that control, and I like that play.
That's good. You apply a little bit of a pinch so that if somebody opens that wall, Munchie's toast. 100%. He can even see from the Attic, Babrielle drops answer. That's the second time for this team that they tried to attack this site, and the Thatcher has gone down very early. There is a wall open inside of Attic. It can be entered, and Grass Eater is going to be that lone defender, along with Babrielle, who can, turn around, give him the old looker. With Arcadia, pieces are getting set up. They've got 2 less players to deal with it, looking very reminiscent of the previous round.
Okay, I've decided that what you were doing wasn't good enough. Just stop trying to go into Master at all. It's not really working too well. Finally, another kill for the attack, as Cloak's able to get one. And if I had a nickel, this is the exact same thing. I was gonna say if I had a nickel thing, but it's not over yet. They haven't 2v5'd. They still have a chance. They're already 1/5 of the way there. Pre-fire's good, but not good enough. He had the right idea. but the idea is only half the battle. The actual battle itself, not won at all. And now Grass Eater, sitting towards the top of Attic, almost comes to blows with Cloak, but he will avoid that for now. Just gonna hop up the Attic hatch and almost gets direct impacted by Akiba. Queens not able to get the kill with the zombie barricade, but I think he was trying to. He's able to get the kill with his gun anyways. Another round for the defense, and no, don't say it's over yet.
I forget what the event is. But it takes place on Skyscraper. It's like the Japanese samurai. It's basically where you have to get a kill with. It's basically where you have to get a kill with those kunais that Azami has, and we almost saw that being adapted into the actual game itself. Very, very funny, very comedic ending, and one that Queens would really prefer over the last result where we saw Taboo and Cloak alive. The final test. It's going to be meeting Kitchen, needing to hold that top floor, needing to make sure that you shut down that double wall and that it cannot be entered and planted, because that is, honest to God, probably Arcadia's solution. With that Monty, with that Ram and Thermite, all the pieces are getting set up for that type of play, but Queens have a little bit of confidence behind them. They've got that momentum, and they potentially have what it takes to complete that comeback.
I like the castle strat as well from Queens in this round, is they have struggled a bit with their gaps being exploited. So in this case, you know you're going to expand pretty far out. Don't even bother leaving the gaps open, just completely shut them off. Make it so the attack has to either melee them, which makes a pretty loud noise in and of itself, or explode something to get through. Make it so they have to lose some damage to get through those Aruni barricades if they don't have more utility to deal with that after having dealt with the castles. So I do like the defensive strategy quite a lot. However, you're going up against Taboo on a big shield, which if the defense was anything to go off of for that, it's going to be very hard to deal with him specifically on an operator of that nature.
See that the goal is to get the top floor. Taboo has entered Armory. Drones have spotted 2 players. And the entry into the building is completed. The pings are there. One thing that Arcadia have done very, very well is they can communicate with each other very effectively so that the shield actually gets their job done. But entering is going to be a difficult process. When you've got that Legion, you've got the Solus and the Jaeger all combining for 3 different angles, there isn't a lot of space that Monty can actually have to feel safe. It's going to put a lot onto the hard breach to maybe open some of these walls, or what it kind of looks like Arcadia is doing is just completely changing their strategy and going for a horizontal take instead of taking the top floor.
And Queens are still prepared for them to try and take upstairs. As a matter of fact, they're entirely prepared for it. Mutt has just decided to commit himself to trying to get a plant down on the site itself, and he's seemingly going to be successful in doing so. A good kill there onto Babrielle for the attack. Granted, it is traded out by Grass Eater, and where is the cover for this diffuser? It's not there at all. It's nowhere nearby. They're going to get the case diffused pretty easily, and no one on Arcadia is ready to counteract that. Yes, you can do some damage, but no, you can't get a kill. No, you can't win a round, and no, you cannot win the map quite yet. It takes until max regulation for Queens to end this one, and they are refusing to die.
Where was the rest of Arcadia?
I don't know.
I expect that to happen if, like, all the players are dead, but then you just have 2 people just taking a trip into who knows where, walking up the tower stairs over by the main entry door. I heralded Arcadia's communication as something that was impressive, why they brought the shield, why it worked, and initially it seemed like they had a good plan to go off of. The plant goes down. With the Monty, you can control everything, but I just don't think those parts of the team were on the same wavelength. Like, the plant was going down, and either the players were still trying to get set up for a post-plant position and weren't ready for the horde of Queens to attack them. They were planting when it was essentially a 5v5. It is a bold strategy to do that unless you're truly ready for the post-plant. It's going to be a dangerous move, and we see why right there.
Well, V, we've made it all the way. From 4 to 1 down, from 6 to 2 down. Maybe all they needed was one player to take a little bit longer getting back into the lobby than normal, and that's all the time that they needed to talk every single defensive strat over. Because, man, have they looked better. They've looked more fluid, quickly adjusting to things. They've looked better individually. They look like they're playing off each other better. This looks like a totally different Queens team than the one that lost those 2 rounds in a row upstairs. Now they go back downstairs, a site that they haven't lost yet, that they looked really good on last round, but also that Arcadia looked really bad on last round. It took them a long time to clear a roam that wasn't there and start putting pressure onto the pillar area. So what I want to see them do, specifically going to this round, is just drone everything first. Start with the second floor. Clear everything. Know that it's all clear. And then start to work on the site itself. However, it looks like they're just going to go for a blitz rush instead. And I'm not going to say that I'm mad about that. Because I'm not. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, a lot of times when you're down to your last ideas, something like this can work. It's usually over by blue, but going down laundry, potentially a dangerous play. Taboo's going to be in alone, but, I mean,
oh my.
It's free. They get the pick. Okay. It's
Electric.
as free as it can be.
And somehow gotten a kill. Okay. Maybe not as free as it can be, but Taboo's pretty far forward, and they're not ready for him, but no, he doesn't die. Munchie doesn't die. He almost walks then into the track stingers and the fire, so that could have gone really, really poorly, but it's actually still going all right. Disciple, the flick is in for my man, and now it's just left to Taboo. He's been so good on the shields all day, but now he's got to play in a post-plant situation. They're not ready for him inside the closet for some reason, even though he's already given up that he's here. Now, Munchie going to smoke it off. Gabrielle needs to push him from the side. They're both going to push him together, and the shotgun doesn't do anything. But he's missing his shots with the pistol, and now he's just praying that they give him an opportunity. What are you doing? You're sprinting at him.
No!
And oh my god. What? I can't even. Taboo's still there. You didn't do anything. Arcadia's going to win this round.
Are you kidding me?
What? And he even gets the kill. That is tomfoolery at its finest, and we have now closed it out in map 2.
I would think that, like, I'm the one that might not know what they're talking about. 'Cause I'm the color.
I was making a joke. I was just making a joke. Map 2, border. See, it is border. I was right.
Yeah, Arcadia gets started on the attack. So they get to set the pace on how things are going to go compared to the previous map where they were on the defense, Queens were on the attack, and Queens only getting 2 attacks made it really difficult for them to find themselves back in the narrative. And they almost did it, but because of just how things went, we don't really need to press on it too much. They ended up losing that one, and Arcadia now are in the driver's seat. They end up banning Brava along with the Dekebi ban of Queens. Makes sense. Both of those two very popular on this map. Are Queens going to go for that Mira ban again? I think she's even more popular on this map once you kind of take her away from that one site of basement. And they are going to go for that Mira ban. So pretty much set standard as last time, only swapping out those 2 attackers.
Great call. And then you said there was a basement on border.
I said on Oregon.
I thought you were talking about border. Okay, never mind. Now I look stupid. Anyways, again. Wow, I've just got Uno reverse carded, but yeah, so they get rid of the Mira, they get rid of the Valkyrie. The Brava really the only big difference between these 2 maps. Makes sense, you know, on a map like this, getting whatever kind of cameras you can makes a huge difference because pretty much every camera could be useful over the course of a given round. Specifically, Top East and 90 are 2 of the biggest cameras you would love to take on as a Brava on the attacking side when you're going into Armory. That's the site we will start with as well, as it has pretty much stayed that way for quite a long time, being one of the best sites that is available on this map. But they're all relatively effective. it just kind of depends on the team, right? Normally, when you see a team defend border, it's not like a necessarily super defender-sided or that they have perfect sites they're really good at. To me, it kind of feels like some teams are just better at defending border, and other teams aren't as good at it because it's such a small map that normally you have to hold similar areas across multiple different bomb sites. So it doesn't really feel like it's like a big, huge difference between multiple objectives, and it just comes down to whether or not you're a border team. And in this case, Arcadia, clearly pretty confident on it. They picked into it, however, they start on attack instead.
I actually think it comes down to two things. Are you good or are you bad?
That's true. That could be one thing if you think about it.
I mean, I guess.
It could also be two things, yeah.
I think about that because that one makes me right. Munchie gets absolutely burned perfectly out in the open, and Arcadia just, like Capitao, absolutely throwing everything in the fire.
And an early kill on your echo of every single operator, maybe the worst one to have to deal with. Gabriel's just standing in a smoke as Warden, trying to deal with that little nerf that it gives you when you're not actually standing still. However, that makes it easier for the Glass on the other side. No more Glass, though, as Grass Eater able to activate and get another kill. But it's getting worse and worse for the defense, as that's the only kill they found all round. Great shot from Sunday. But look at the absolute minefield of track singers. He's getting meleeed by a shield and shot at by a para 308. A very, very rough end to that round. Very rough beginning, too. Basically, no time of that round was spent with Queens at the advantage. And they go down 0-1.
They had the idea with the Echo, but the fact that Munchie was simply out in the open due to the Glass just throws that all in the bin. I don't know why Munchie... I guess it actually could have been a thing due to how quickly Arcadia was. There wasn't time for Munchie to actually set the yokai in a good position and get ready for the push, because it came fast as could be, lightning quick. And without a Solus, without a Pulse, you're not going to get anything done from downstairs. Because teams can bring an Echo and a Solus, and with no Solus ban, it will not hurt you to bring her. It only benefits you. She is really, really good in the right hands. And just like Fenrir, like Tuberau, in a lot of instances, you actually actively hurt yourself by not bringing her. And I just think that, you know, maybe a substitute to Capcan for the Solus. I think it may hurt you when it comes to taking advantage of that attacking in certain areas, but you just gain so much.
Still opting to go back to that bomb site. Very prepared to deal with this kind of rush. They've got Sunday downstairs, but ill-advised preparation, as doing that kind of thing in the very first round, normally not something you're going to replicate in round 2, and that's exactly the case for Arcadia. No Monty at all. Oh, excuse me, but yeah, no, that was I'm very sorry.
I was wondering if your mic cut out or something.
No, I just had to
yes.
Anyways, Grass Eater's got the opening kill. On to answer. So down goes your Buck. No vertical play. You're not going to be able to flush anybody out of the number of anchor positions they could have held inside the bomb site. That's a great start to the round for Grass Eater in particular. And now Arcadia in a very rough spot where they don't have a ton of control, and everywhere they're trying to enter, they're either getting shot at or walking into Fenrir's or both, and they could well get flanked by Sunday downstairs. Good trade that, though, back by Mutt.
The C4 stuck there could be a surprise tool that maybe will help us later, as Arcadia have still dedicated themselves to getting towards this office archives area, and with the centralized defense towards this door, is it wise to continue here? There's still time to adapt, go for a security, maybe towards that armory double wall area. Grass Eater getting close to a second kill on the round would surely make this Arcadia attack much less effective. The more time dwindles down, the more effective this defense gets, and the better all those C4s get.
Oh, and the better Sunday gets 2 kills on the flank play with a Nomad in play for the attackers. Is going to be traded out just after by Electric, who even makes it a second. So I was about to say, that was a big pendulum swing in the round. However, seemingly brought back. And Grass Eater caught in a very uncomfortable corner. He needs to fight his way out. Fortunately, he's been given an opportunity to relocate. And now he knows that one's walking in his office door. That's going to be Electric on the Thermite. Good timing on the swing, though. He doesn't even need the help of his teammate. He just got the kill on his own. Now it's just left to Munchie, the sole remaining vestige of this Queen's defense, and he can't do a thing to Electric on that long angle. What a round from the Thermite, and a great job to Arcadia, unfazed in that disadvantage.
Oh, it keeps happening. Or you can call a choked lead. We had it on Oregon. Threw it away. On border. Again, Grass Eater gets a really good opening. No trade happening on the side of Arcadia. That one falls apart too. And with Arcadia on the attack, no less. They are disadvantaged statistically. And yet, they've already got those two. Maybe one they shouldn't have even got. Now you bring the Soulless onto Bathroom Tellers, a site that is less effective, simply when you think about the fact that Soulless is one of the few operators who can look up, spot the diffuser, know where it's going. But when you're trying to hold down that second floor, it's just going to be as good as ever. Because you're going to be able to spot the Jackal when that headset is on, spot the Zero Cam, spot the drones. All of those are going to be really effective when you're just trying to stay away from the drones, shut down the roam clear that Arcadia has done a semi-solid job on. And if you're this defense, you want to make that 0% effective. And Soulless is a good way to do that.
Second map in a row that we've seen Queens start on a bomb site. It's typically pretty solid. Find no luck in it, and then, well, they switch over. Actually, pretty uncanny how similar the rounds were, as the second round in both of those cases was a round that they probably should have won. They had a huge advantage, at one point being in a 2-on-4, only for it to then fall apart. Here, they get an advantage again. Queens, ever the proficient early fraggers, are once again proficient in the opening gunfights. It's Disciple, who I think has looked mechanically their best so far, finally hopping on the board on border, making himself known, making his presence known on the Soulless that you were talking about so much in the prep phase.
All right, that's 2.
Nice.
Disciple actually using the little punch holes into the wall, so nobody has just been able to even get within an inch of this player. And now it's actually been joined by Sunday. I think Cloak, Answer, and Taboo, the 3 players remaining on the attack. They have no choice but to try to go for that roam clear, or at least pick up the diffuser. Roam just looks too powerful, honestly. Another player down.
It's just been so strong this round. Where has this been all day? I mean, you don't get as many chances to roam on the top floor bomb site. What a shot for
Smoked.
Disciple!
Oh my.
You just got rolled and smoked all in one go. You knew where he was.
Wow.
Moss check. That is not normally. Please, Moss check.
That
That is insane.
Yeah.
I don't actually think he's cheating, but
I don't think so either.
it's a really
I think,
good shot.
Yeah, no, Queens would be doing a little bit better, methinks, if they had a little bit of a hacker on the team. Not that we're accusing them of anything. It's just it's fun to kind of think about, you know. Queens, though, with that lovely little play, they get the 1. And they head back to Armory, not even testing that workshop area. And we have seen how Armories went. Arcadia has put themselves on that Armory office, or excuse me, Archives office side twice. And both times, despite the fact that Queens were able to get something done on that second round, it still did not amount to anything. To change this potential final time is going to be onto Maestro. And Evil Eyes, you get so much information with that. You can shut down any planter. And Munchie's trying to go for a little sneaky play where you can get the...
Hey,
yeah, exactly. Exactly that play where I don't exactly know if you can spot it through the window, but if you're going through the door, you can't really punch it. You have to use something like a gun 6, like a Zofia impact, and swapping off of that Zofia may make that Evil Eye very effective. Maestro was a rare pick on this site, but right now, that change that Queens go on could be a difference maker.
I think they only really have 1 or 2 Gone 6s that they could bring within this individual round. I know for sure Buck has one. So that will be a big factor, like you said. They don't really have any mobile breaching. No Zof, they switched off it. No Ash at all ever being really brought. And so now Arcadia continue to go for this sort of east stairs office side take. They ran into a lot of resistance last time trying to go CC break, so this time they realize it may not even be worth it because Gabriel, playing Fenrir, has his Fen Mines active on both of the doors that you could use to get into CCTV, and he's actively running out of the security room doorway, making it as hard as physically possible for anyone to get through. So I like the idea of getting an entry point towards these stairs and then try and confront this roamer. They've got Z-pings on him as well. It's just going to be a matter of time. Yeah, he's the Fenrir at the moment, but he walks a little too far over to the side and gets caught in the Fen trap. And now, Gabriel knows that they're advancing. Very aware that they're very far forward, but he just needs to wait for the push. Good flashbang out from Cloak. That should be enough to get the trick. But he's actually going to go for another, and that one kind of sails a bit too far away. And he's also prone now towards box. Bab is peeked back up. Nobody knows where anybody else is. Finally, Cloak gets the kill. But that's also responded to immediately by Sunday with a C4. However, still an advantage to Arcadia as Taboo, or Electric, gets that kill back.
We still have the Warden, Maestro, and Jaeger alive. Ability to see through that smoke. There are 4 on the board. That still at 100% is a plan, and I love the little angle that Disciple is at, hopping off of it, because it is pretty dangerous, but immediately peeks onto 1. It's traded, so Arcadia still has that man count advantage, and Archives has to be acquiesced over to their opponents, but the Evil Eyes are still in play, and that is going to be the go-to for Arcadia.
Disciple trying to get a flank onto the player inside of security, and Mutt has no clue even though the air jab went off. Munchie also gets 1, so this time Queens flipping that Choker's status on its head, and now they're the ones making the other team look like throwers once they get that advantage, as Munchie will throw his team on a 2 rounds thus far, as it's a 2-win streak for Queens.
Talked about last map about how it seemed like Queens always had the idea. They put the pieces in place and then could never fit them together at the last second. You're seeing a little bit of that from Arcadia. It's not as common, nowhere near as common as we saw Queens, but that round is a very good example. They've got the wall open, they've cleared the defenders out of their positions, and yet they did not commit. They let these flanks happen, tried to take control of security, when Archives, I still think, was the play. They do have 2, though. Happy. I think as long as you've got 2, anything more than that is just a treat in your eyes. So every defensive round that Queens wins at this point feels almost like it should be a given, in a sense that Arcadia can absolutely earn more, but they don't deserve more because of how they play. They have to fight for it tooth and nail.
Well, Queens forced onto their tertiary bomb site. Pretty much an exact replica of their defensive half on Oregon thus far. The similarity is kind of uncanny. So in this case, Vent Workshop, still a pretty solid bomb site in its own right. Same goes for Meeting and Kitchen in the case of Oregon, but nothing immediately jumping out in this case, or at least in this composition. Other than the fact that they're bringing the Mozzie, first time they've brought him so far, and that on Sunday, who's got 5 kills. Okay, my observer just told me that Mozzie's already been played. But it's not going to matter because they're just running into the
time!
bomb site. Electric did plant down really quickly. Gabriel's already dead. And so the Rome not allowed to have an impact because they're rid of the bomb site, planting the diffuser already. And from said bomb site, Answer has gotten 2 kills. Munchie and Bab already gone. And now both those Roamers and Grass Eater on Frost that we were so excited to see activate are going to have to do so in a less than conventional situation. Grass Eater and Disciple, both good for 1 kill each, but they've lost their teammate in Sunday, and almost half the diffuser timer has ticked down by this point. Taboo with a shotgun doesn't lose that gunfight, and now it's only left to Grass Eater. Good timing on the swing, but he doesn't have a shotgun, and so again, Taboo won't lose that fight. Arcadia won't lose that round, and they are once again at the advantage.
You weren't there when I kind of coined this, calling it kneecapping, where you know that a site is always held on the top floor, like we do see with Workshop, but wanting to take that risk, going for the horizontal play or the rush in this specific instance. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on how the defense reacts, how they use that vertical control that they've been given by the attack to play in that post plan. And I think Queens relied too little on it. They essentially didn't use it at all. A lot of that does come down to Answer finding 2 kills while the plant was actually going down, clearing that site. But all of the Queens players dropped down to that first floor. They tried to enter through the workshop door, cramming themselves in there instead of trying to work the natural gift that the site gives you, which is great control over the site when it comes to that vertical play. And you just essentially didn't work with what was given to them by the attack, and they didn't play their own game well.
And after the Rome doesn't really do much in the last round, they seem to be doubling down on it. They're bringing an alibi this round, which can really only be used as some kind of roamer. You're bringing that because Grass Eater doesn't feel like there's anyone he could necessarily bring that would lend them too much more benefit. And he really likes the MX4 Storm. Those are the reasons you would run an alibi. I can't imagine too many more other than that, though there probably are a couple. The prox mines are really useful, and they've helped a lot. That kind of Thorn, Fenrir-esque proximity style utility has been so helpful. Disciple with a big brain play that he tries to get to work, and now Taboo's left on 1 HP. He's actually still actively fighting the player on Archive's balcony, but he tries to bite off a bit too much more than he can chew. And Taboo left on 1, Answer left on about 40, and Arcadia left with a man advantage. That is until Sunday and Munchie activate. Queens are doubling down all across the board, and it's working at wonders for them. Sunday's got another kill on to Answer. A great trade back from Electric, but it's still not enough to bring this man count back to even. And if Sunday has his way on this angle, he's going to keep it at an advantage for Queens. However, he's slowly fading away, trying to get Electric to believe that he completely fell off of this position. A wise play from him. And he's currently just sitting in a corner, so there's no way that the ace is going to be expecting him. Triple kill for Sunday on the round, and this feels like a hopeless situation for Mutt.
Oh man, that entire escapade up on that top floor is just such a doozy. SMG-12 missed. ITAS is winning the fight. Oh man, and then it gets finished up by Grass Eater. That entire round, I feel like, just deserves, you know, the circus theme, Happy?
Yeah.
That was a treat to see. Was it good siege? Maybe not. There's a lot of criticisms. I mean, you can look at Arcadia saying, hey, Taboo, unshield, you know, give your attackers a little bit of help when it comes to the frag power. But there was just also a lot of mistakes that are on Queen's side. Queens win the round, make it 3-3. We swap sides, and now getting that 1 extra round on the side of Arcadia, I think, will embolden them because we've seen what they can do on the defense and, I guess, the ineffectiveness of the Queens attack. But that was on Oregon. We're on Border now. There's 2 different maps, and Queens is going to be up to them, not on their own map pick, to see if they can put things together to stave off a loss.
And Queen's really playing into that advantage of just the roam on this map is so strong, and if you can figure out where the other team's trying to make entry, and just stop them. Well, not just stop them. It's not that simple, but really try and play full court press on border. It gets so uncomfortable to attack. And I was talking about that last map, how I was excited to see how that went on this map, because it's so useful, but neither team seemed like they would be doing that. Queens step up, and they do exactly that. Now, Arcadia on the defensive end, it doesn't look like they're going to be doing as much of an extension, or of a kind of a loose play, where we saw a lot of roamers on the Queens defensive side trying to make something happen across the way. They are still extending a good bit, though, it would seem, so not trying to... Well, I don't know why you're reinforcing that on that side, Electric. I'm not going to lie. I don't know why you're
Reinforce
on
it.
that side of the wall.
No!
Oh.
Oh my goodness. Answer is potentially gonna find a third,
Oh.
and they do! This is Woo's. It's Woo's spot.
I was
It
gonna
just
say that.
seems that whoever embodies this area is imbued with great mechanical skill.
Yeah, I mean, Electric has had it all day, pretty much. Or, not Electric, rather. Answer has looked pretty solid all day, as if many Arcadia members, but, you know, Answer has been one of the ones who, typically on a lower role, but even when he's on some certain roles. This is kind of the spot that I think it's more akin to that JetCon spot that he was playing. I saw him play that position a number of times in that kind of similar way, but we're just kind of talking about things the audience may not know about. This is random tier 2 players that we had to watch a lot of, but regardless, still 2-on-4. Electric, the only player who's died for Arcadia, and there doesn't really feel like much of a way back in. With how far up Answer is, given the push that Queens tried to go for, not only Answer, but also the players that are holding the push in through archives, the Maestro cams and the info on it, it'll be a very hard execute to make work. They still do have a lot of time, though, so that's something.
Look, I think, is looking around for potentially any Argus cameras that are in the vicinity, with Munchie having those EMPs. It's going to be the only reprieve from any potential magnets or evil eyes that are in play. Cloak has only deployed 2 of them, interesting to note, and
Oh, wow.
spots them, fires a couple bullets. You don't need to be super aggressive because you can fall back on those goo mines, on those evil eyes. Answer's going to go for the quad, could potentially go for the ace. And it's not going to be, but quad is greatly appreciated and catapults Arcadia into the lead.
You gotta let him get the ace there. Maybe he probably wanted to... You gotta let him get the ace there. Come on, you gotta let him get the ace there. You're in no danger of losing that round. Maybe he was looking and hoping that he could get an ace literally just from the exact same spot, every single kill on players on effectively the same position. That would have been really funny. But instead, it's just a 4K where that happened, which is still kind of funny. But in general, Arcadia just kind of have... The Queens just kind of walk into Arcadia's gunfights. It couldn't have been easier for Arcadia in that round. That was exactly the kind of push that their defense was well set up to deal with. And Queens not adjusting at all in the middle of that round. They end up walking back to the same exact spot where basically their entire team died before them, thinking, oh, well, surely this is going to go well. Of course it wasn't going to go well. You shouldn't have done that. So, again, I feel like this was kind of an issue last map, but as the team started to get through their halves, they tended to get a little better at adjusting, but we got to start making some micro adjustments within the rounds themselves and changing the plan up on the fly once you start to realize the defense is well set up for it. Granted, that's easy for me to say because I can see where everybody is on the map, but it's still something that Queens have to get just a little better at.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Still running the Maestro, which I love. Look, I'm a huge Maestro fan, and I am the #1 advocate for Maestro Elite Skin. It's been 6 years since Maestro has been revealed, and he still does not have an Elite Skin. Happy. Hashtag justice for the Italian man.
It's Italian discrimination.
It is
There it is.
Italian discrimination. I farmed impressions off that yesterday, and I'm... See, I do like it because it gives a lot of information, and especially with the lasers, you can shut down any drones, you can shut down some planters that come through depending on their health. Answer's still playing a very close, aggressive game along with Cloak, And, well, Answer and Co. have been a great solution for Queens. They've got 9 kills to their name, along with Electric. And if it's working, you don't need to change it by any means.
Well, it's working for Grass Eater within this individual round, and Sunday, as a matter of fact. 2 kills really quickly for the Queen's attack, something that, regardless of the round, they've been doing really well all day. In spite of their overall struggles, one good thing that you could take out of this game as Queens is that you are very, very proficient at dealing with roams, at finding those initial players and winning the initial gunfights, which is something that not everybody can say. So, as they continue through this round, it's just going to be a matter of making sure that you are thorough and getting all the kills that you can. They've already gotten 1 additional as Cloak was taken down. Trying to jump up the hatch from Workshop into Small Office. Not his smartest idea, but drastic times call for drastic measures, and I understand the idea behind the thought process. But now, Queens are very fortunately taking their time. They've only got 2 players left alive on the defensive side, and so Queens not trying to rush anything. They see the site is clear and they start to take it. However, with all these players inside the site, surely someone has to be watching Workshop. 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 It is a 2 versus 1. This should not be a lost round, and it isn't. Thank you, Disciple. I would have lost my mind, and instead, Arcadia has lost the round. Queens even it back up.
Oh. Okay. Didn't see another XV5 happen. And Queens, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there when you were talking about how good they are with the roam clear, picking off these lone players. But when Arcadia isn't doing that, when they're playing very close with each other, which is something we might see on Oregon, which is why their defense did very, very well. They were able to find 4 rounds. It's a lot harder to get anything done. It requires a lot more coordination, timing, positioning, all of the things that fundamentally make up Siege. So it then doesn't fall upon you to get things done. It falls upon your opponent to make those mistakes of playing alone, mispositioning themselves. And that's usually never how you want to play the game. It's not a game of can I make less mistakes than my opponent. It's can I play good enough? Can I make the changes necessary to get things done?
Well, they go back, or not back, but they choose to go to Workshop and Vent. I mentioned Workshop so much at the end of that last round, I started to think it was the bomb site they just played, but no. They're switching things up. The Archives defense, obviously having won it, you can't go back there, but with that loss upstairs, they really, really don't like that bomb site. Very clear that they're, open to changing things up quickly. And speaking of quickly, I think we may have another front door rush on our hands. This one, though, a little bit weirder in timing, because they popped the E1D, now they're giving up sun signs that they could be in, but Grass Eater is the big lurk here, because everyone's so focused on the front door, they're not going to be ready for Grass Eater where he is, and just like that, this site completely vacated, caught playing on his iPad is taboo, and in the middle of the bathroom, the Echo spotted and shot at and killed all in one fell swoop. It's just left to Cloak and Electric, and Cloak can't even so much as do a single lick of damage to a single player in this site. 5-on-1 for Electric, and he's likely about to drop a hatch to his doom. Never mind. Peeks the hatch, gets a kill, but that will be all he gets. It's Disciple for the 2nd round in a row to close in another Queens win as they take a big lead on Border.
At the beginning, I mean, you make the idea to go for something similar of a rush, kneecapping as I'd call it, but having Grass lurk through that bottom floor and enter in a different area to provide a little bit of a flank angle is very impressive to see. The idea of it is lovely, and it kind of throws to the side the idea that Queens aren't a coordinative team, that they aren't able to put things together because of situations like that. That's how I know that this team has the potential to make their attacks stick. And Arcadia clearly were not ready for. I think even if they tried to adapt, Queens just struck so quickly and efficiently that there wasn't anything you could do about it. I still am confused as to why Tapu committed so hard to the yokai when there was a dead player and you know that there is a buck abound. I mean, at that point, we're starting to nitpick. I think the whole broad idea is very impressive to see from Queens, and attacking Armory is going to be tested if they'll tie it up. And then when they change sites again, if they can get things done on their attack, maybe we're headed to overtime.
We may well be. Still a solid round from Queens all the same, not to take any credit away from them, but for a team that are, Arcadia, that did the same thing on the same exact bomb site, you would think they'd be more prepared for that. Arcadia, 2 times in their last half, chose to go for those very fast, catch you off guard kind of takes, and yet weren't prepared for one at all. I'd even contend that they were less prepared for it than Queens were when they were on defense. So it's a bit shocking to me, just because normally you'll see a team like that does that kind of thing be more prepared for someone who does it, for someone to do it back unto them. However, the reciprocation in that case was not anticipated, and now Queens have a round advantage. Pretty uncommon sight to see basically all series long. At basically no point did they have an advantage on Oregon, as Arcadia pretty much held the dominant force across that map for most of the time that it happened. And so far on Border, it's been more back and forth, for sure, but it still felt like Arcadia were kind of in the driver's seat based on last map and based on their starts. But it feels like Queens are kind of kicking them out of the car and taking the steering wheel for themselves. They are the ones in control! And don't you dare try and rip the control away from them, or else your life will be ripped away from you as it just was from Electric.
You shouldn't lose those engagements. And Queens are just inside of the site. Disciple's gonna flick and find another one and answer, despite having a very easily accessible kill. Misses all of the shots, and only then finds the kill. It's a 1v3, but what's happening? It's a 1v2 Happy. Somehow, it's completely achievable.
And he has the ping, so he knows that one of them's down. He knows he's stuck in a 1 versus 2. I don't know why he's slow peeking that. His teammates should have called it out. There you go. A little bit of time wasted, but that's not really going to matter, because Sunday had him dead to rights as soon as he came across the wall, or came out from the other side of the wall, rather. And that's still Queens, taking the round all the same.
Are we destined for a map 3? All Queens have to do is win one more attack, and that's where we're headed. And it's crazy to think that we've essentially seen an attacker-sided series so far, and I know that we're not at the highest levels where the statistics that we see at Pro League or NAL are going to be matching here, but the attacks haven't been pitch perfect. I just think the defenses have been lacking. There's been a lot of areas where the defense on both sides has lost focus, and they've let key positions and key angles fall to the wayside, and that's where the attack really does step up and just find themselves getting kill after kill after kill. There is no way that Queens, even in a 5v3, should have access to the site that easily, given all that we've seen from Arcadia, all the utility that was on their side. They walk in like they own the place, and it's just so surprising to see that happen after all the siege that we've seen.
Literally the round before. Like, I was talking about how many rounds earlier they did the same thing on a workshop, and then they got caught off guard by it. The last round, you got pushed quickly. And then the next round, you're still not ready for that. It's like Arcadia, who were so good at adjusting on their attack, just have this set notion as to how Queens are going to attack the map, which is so strange, because you'd think on your map pick you'd have a lot of experience on it. You'd be able to tell, oh, this is this kind of an attack, this is what that is, these are the different things that could happen. It seems not. It seems that Arcadia just leaving a massive, massive Achilles heel out in the wide open, kind of like a Super Mario boss, where you can very obviously tell what the weak spot is, that gap being spotted every single time with repetition in the Arcadia defense. And now they are 3 for 4 on the attack Queens on a map their opponents picked into. And it's not getting any better as Disciple is on a mission this map. 13 and 6, and the 13th of which starts this round off well for Queens.
Just got to worry about the window. I believe there was a drone coming into their left. Somebody below them. Diffuser is going down. The Soulless is gone. But Answer Finding Sunday is going to take Queens off of the Diffuser. Where's the reaction from Arcadia? It seems to have none. And Queens are going to be able to get this down with essentially no contestation.
With basically nobody dead either. Still only a 4-on-4. And they're only now opening up the armory breach. And it doesn't get killed for it, but somehow the exothermic broken, nothing else done. 2 attacking kills, nothing yet for the defense. Make it 3 attacking kills in a row in the post plant. We go to map number 3 as Queens refuse to give up on their attacks on border. An outstanding showing on the attack. Well, Queens have decided that it's not worth dying on the hill of wanting the sides to be changed. Yes, it's a little unfortunate that they were put on the wrong sides. However, currently, the server issues are quite bad. It is frankly a miracle that we have 10 people in a lobby and that the game is being played at all. Would be really unfortunate for this to just be rehosted like 2 rounds in, except we can't rehost it because the last player just can't get in the lobby. But that has not happened yet. We still have everyone here, and we're ready to play the game. Clubhouse, here we come. Map 3, here we come. Who's going to win in this very thrilling series we have had so far?
So far, attack has had the advantage, which is funny enough because Queens were wanting to go on the defense, but whoever really ends up on the attack overall does a lot better to begin with. So I think if Queens can come out and get that advantage that for some reason we've seen everybody get with their attack, despite the meta we're in, despite how there have been some persistent problems with the attack, then the world is kind of theirs to begin with. Interesting to note, Disciples by their lonesome over by this kitchen area, and with everybody else mainly on the roof, over by the con wall, essentially in a different part of the map, only now meeting up on this first floor. They do have to worry about the second floor room. There's not a lot, but you still have to make sure that you are set up to deal with them. And with Cloak backing off into construction, joining the rest of his people, maybe we'll see if he puts up a little bit of a fight.
He seems to be planning to the sliver. Maybe a couple of pixels wide, but still saw plenty of the head of Grass Eater. More than enough to dispatch of him very first overall. And Cloak with a great start. Didn't have the Fen Mine active on that top of that staircase as it was shot before they walked up. Even still, he didn't need it. And a very good opening kill for Arcadia. Something Queens were very good at up until this round. They don't have playing to their advantage. Munchie, though, going to trade that back. Good kill onto Cloak. So only 1 kill for the Fenrir in this individual round. And now Queens positioned pretty close to the bomb site, all things considered.
Electric is kind of in a difficult position here because of the Kiva barrier. They've isolated themselves over to the right side, but the person walking up red stairs, Munchie's just going to plant on the other side of the Kiva barrier.
He's right there. What? What? Okay, those things happen. Sunday runs up red stairs, and he is absolutely the impact player the team needed. I believe he got 3. He at least got 2 within 5 seconds of each other that we just saw in the kill feed. Outstanding round from him to spot that gap and then take advantage of it. I was about to say, during that pusher, I wasn't about to say it, but I was thinking that it didn't feel like Queens had a ton of dimensions on that attack. You know, maybe they could go CC window, but even still, you have a player rafters to watch the run through the doorway or the breach, either way. And then on top of that, you have maybe players top red that can deal with it. You still have the player on green box that hasn't been flushed out. But every single 2 of those 3, the red stairs threat and the box threat, were dealt with by just sprinting up the red stairs. And you think about that, Fenrir could have been a great counter to that. But Cloak was playing a little too aggressive early in the round, and that's kind of the downside of not having that Fenrir later. Yes, he's very good at holding extensions and peeking off of his info. However, if he dies, he doesn't have it for later, and you are left very vulnerable. from angles that you thought you were covered
10 seconds to
for. In that case, they weren't covered on red stairs in an outstanding play by the Jackal to get 3 kills and win his team that round.
attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
And now you go onto the basement site where vertical play is a lot more required. And so Queens, they bring the Ram, basically, no Sledge, no Buck, and the Jackal and Zero to substitute for those. Oh, the Buck is...
What?
Was it Buck?
Yes.
It was Buck who got banned?
Look at the
Oh
top
my
of the
God,
screen. It's right there.
I think I like blacked out during the ban phase or something. I remembered it as. Sorry,
I talked about it for like 30
as-
whole seconds, V. It's right there. It's right at the top of the screen. You can look at it right
I'm
now.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
It's alright. I'm sorry. I'm being too critical of you.
No,
Human
it's
mistakes.
okay.
Human mistakes.
I'm mid. It's okay. I'm mid. I'm washed.
I'm mid. I'm washed fraud V Kohler on the broadcast tonight. But I mean, definitely significant to point out that they can't bring the Buck anyways, because it would have helped a ton. They're going to help a lot. However, yeah. It just broke its teammate's drone. Also, that angle of the Ram is weird. Surely you just have it go straight down the hallway and you break all of that. Instead, now, someone could hypothetically play in that double door into church from the hallway and still be all right in that position because they didn't break that. Not nobody is, but an zombie's on the board, so Akiba could be set up to try and hold the bottom of main with that sort of angle. And still, it's significant to point those things out. However, Queens, for now, still in a decent spot. They're getting the hatches open. They're not really spreading out, though. They're not conquering a lot, so it seems like their only option for now is just a pretty simple push, whether they choose to go church or armory with it.
But not a lot of options to deal with both the Kiba barriers and those Maestro camps. You might have some Habana pellets to deal with those Kiba barriers, but that's going to take time, something that's slowly dwindling down. And you can see Queen's just making a huge entry. They're able to down Electric, but it's not without a lot of sacrifice to happen with it.
Yeah, Disciples got the next kill onto Mutt. Electric still downed means that it's effectively a 4-on-3. Now finished off, it is literally a 4-on-3. Flashbangs in to deal with the Legion, but they haven't dealt with Answer quite yet. And even still, Answer able to finish, but the Legion seemingly unflashed fast enough to deal with it himself. Disciple gets 3 kills in this round. He's still alive. He'll need to get all of them to bring this back. Good flashbang, but not timing his swing well off of it. And so Taboo kills him before his screen goes white. I don't even think it ever would have. Good play at the end of the round by the Maestro, and Arcadia fires back with a defensive round win.
It's another one that kind of comes down to how you get in. It's what we saw on the Oregon attack, where overall there weren't a lot of options that Arcadia gave Queens. Oh my goodness, staring into the ring light for like 3 hours starts to do something to you.
I feel that.
Where Arcadia, they didn't run many roamers overall. The vertical play didn't really reward much fruit. So if you can get something when it comes to, let's say, main, dirt, blue, you can work from there. But Queens went in so many different directions. They entered from so many different areas and weren't able to get a confident hold on anything because, well, they did, but they would also lose somebody in another area, making it so that their pinch, which is what you usually want on something like a clubhouse defense, really difficult to actually get done. So instead, you just have players like Disciple behind those AK racks or by dirt doing a lot themselves, when a lot of times on a clubhouse attack, you want somebody over in blue or somebody over in main to help you get that pinch done.
Yeah, they've kind of been doing that a lot today, haven't they? Sort of earlier on, there was an attack of upstairs that round reminds me a lot of, with the 2 players big window and the 2 players going into games. You want everyone, at least most of your team, you can have somebody lurking, maybe 2 if you got a lot of people alive. But everyone should be focused on trying to do something that will help the overall push. If you have half your team doing one thing and half your team doing another thing, it's not really going to get you anywhere. And in that case, they did decent, but in the end, you lose one too many players in the wrong spots, and the whole push falls apart. This round, though, they seem to have a general idea of what they want to get done. They're not really focusing too heavily on anything near Garage. They'd like to end in a similar fashion to how they ended last round. Cloak, be aware! You gotta be ready for Sunday to be there with how that drone was. He overextends way too far, and your Fenrir is dead really early again this round. We saw the impact it had last round. This time, he's dead without even getting a kill to show for it.
Sometimes you just get antsy. You get tunnel vision and you get punished for it. A lot of flashbangs coming his way, but nobody actually pushes off of that. Frag grenade is gonna connect. You can't squirm quick enough to get anything done. And now Sunday spotted on the bulletproof camera. But Arcadia, every opportunity slowly slips out of their grasp. But here's a perfect one. Electric's able to strike. Can they shut down the diffuser?
Oh my gosh. The Thorn Mine that was there, the Razor Bloom shells, able to get the kill on a Munchie, and it didn't activate until he started to get the plant down, and he didn't react until it was too late. Great kills across the board from Arcadia that bring it back. There was still one in the picture for Queens, so we're still only at a 2-on-2. And now Queens really need to reset. Good info being gathered by the Zero Cams, but there's no way he's been missed.
It's a massive
There's
miss
no
round.
way he's been missed. Grass Eater gets one, but Answer is able to answer back in immediate fashion. Now Grass Eater knows to expect him on top red. Throwing out the EMPs to try and deal with any Razor Blooms or anything of the like that may get in his way on his attempted entry. But instead of doing that, instead of making the entry happen right now, he's going to take his time and drone things out. Seems to have a sneaking suspicion as to where Answer is. And he's looking at the perfect angle. He has the drone with the live ping info for him, so he knows he can jump in through Garage. 15 seconds left. He still has that live information. He can get the info when he swings around. Instead, he chooses to take the initiative on the gunfight. He's caught by the Fenrir, but that's not going to matter. As Answer, the solution to all of your problems in the one-on-one. And Queens continue to see attacking success into map number 3.
Thus, this benefits Arcadia as well. It's just the type of meta. I know that this entire thing seems to be opposite day, where the attackers are struggling with the defense being emboldened. But in this match between Queens and Arcadia, attack is just it right now. And Queens winning CC that closely, it's one round. And one round, you're able to stay away from your opponent, get that lead, go on to gym bedroom, and force them to reevaluate what they want to do with their future positions. Because after this, I don't believe you can go back down to basement right after, but even if you can, it puts Arcadia in a difficult position if they lose this, because even if you only win one site, that's only 2 rounds. And as a defense, that is pitiful.
Yeah, that really is rough. 4-2 half is like the typical defender half, and especially, as you had said, given this meta, it kind of feels like more of a necessity than anything. But on club specifically, you need to get at least the 4-2. People will say like, oh, we got our 2, we're fine. I played Staff Hub with a Pro League analyst, and we won 2 rounds, and he was like, oh, we're good, don't worry about it. And it wasn't the best half in the world, but like, you know, it's just kind of all that you need. You feel like you're much more confident on the defensive side, but it doesn't feel like Arcadia have that confidence. And that which they do have is getting completely nullified early on in these rounds because Queen are so good at finding early kills. And yes, as good as Arcadia are at exploiting them for maybe their mishaps late in the rounds, you can't keep relying on that. And you can't keep losing these early gunfights. Sunday, able to win the opener this round onto Mutt, who is now 0-4. Taboo still sitting inside Cash. For some reason, hasn't given this up yet. Has some help from Electric, and he swings so wide. And here it is again. Queens open the round so strong, only to get come back on immediately thereafter. Advantage now to the defense. That, though, dealt with quickly by Grass Eater as we're back into a 2-on-2.
Did Taboo make the long trip? Yes, he did. Okay, I was worried he was going to be stuck in Cash for forever. But Taboo really is the difference maker here, because that two-piece completely changes the entire flow of the round. Otherwise, Queens would probably have this, and now Diffuser isn't in their pockets. They've got to make a decision on where they want to entry, because you can see with Sunday not wanting to go towards Con. Maybe we'll have one player go to Con, one player go to Logi, so that there maybe is a little bit more map covered, but there's just so many question marks here. Taboo is, you know, it has to have a little fun zapping. You're not going to get the greatest of information, but also losing that information doesn't really help you at all. And with a minute left, now we start to see Queens make some decisions that will either benefit them or really curse them once we get to those single digits.
Still 2-on-2 after the outstanding play from Taboo. Great timing on that re-aggression and really just making the correct play. You lose too many fights early in that kind of a spot, you either need to give it up or, which would probably, what you probably need to do, what is a more dire option, is get aggressive the same way Taboo did, and it really works out in this case, because for some reason Queens just never expected. They've been doing this for a couple rounds in a row now. The Grass Eater is going to take down Answer. That leaves just Taboo, and one of his Maestro cams has been completely annihilated by the breaching round. Gets info from one of the Razor Blooms, but he's currently just dead set on watching this angle. Yeah, how are you not ready for bathroom? He lines up two people who didn't even look in the right zip code for him, and Taboo with a 4K to keep his team in the picture.
Anytime I feel like I start to compliment a team, I just pull something wacky.
I don't know.
Completely out of the blue that just doesn't feel like it should happen. Because you let that lapse happen where no one even checks bathroom? Like, Sunday doesn't peek over there right before.
Sunday
the
had a couple of
crossout?
drones, too. Like, they should have known that.
It starts off so well with the roam clear onto the player on red. Like, pitch perfect. That's exactly how you want
great
the clear
shot,
to go.
too.
Exactly. It's all you can really ask from a team, even at the highest level. Something like that just works, and it works for a reason. But then it's like you regress in the exact same round, and all the things that you've worked on as a player, as a team, fall. And they don't matter, and it's frustrating to watch.
They're at their best, Queens, when they've got their droners droning and then they've got their entries entrying. And then when that can't happen, it feels like they take a couple steps back. Disciple's been great. Sunday's been great. They've both been playing really well off of info. Grass Eater has been reliable in 1vx situations. He's the one of the non-entries who you have consistently been able to rely on to get things done when he needs to, as he was able to, you know, make things happen at the right time. But regardless, Queens still come into this round with their droners droning and their entries doing the entrying. And again, this is where they are at their peak in terms of effectiveness, in terms of when they get stuff done. Getting a pretty quick roam clear done, all things considered. They're all moving in at once, making sure they're a cohesive unit, at least there to get the trades if they need it, but they haven't really been needing it. What they've been needing is to be ready for re-aggression from Arcadia, because once you get those couple opening kills, the rest of the team isn't just gonna let you kill them. You got to be ready for more, and it feels like after that first or second wave of frags that they find, they're not ready for that. Not quite sure why that is.
Now you're getting the Ram. God, it does bug me, doesn't it? Like, just make it straight, please. It's like, it is the perfect gadget for getting that straight line. It's like it was made for this hallway, and it doesn't happen, and it just annoys ever-loving crap out of me. Granted, it still gets done. Like, you still get these crucial areas, like, you know, the church, the long hallway. Those are taken care of. But just like the last time we saw Queen's attack, they weren't able to get anything off of this, and that's what really killed them in the end. And I worry that we're going to see the exact same thing. Time is starting to drip down, and the longer Queens take to get these hatches open,
By attackers.
to drone out, they're going to get punished for it. And we could see the exact same results as before.
For now, Queen's seemingly trying to focus, at least partly, on some kind of Moto Church execute. They don't have the main wall open. That's going to be really difficult, because it means you basically have to walk in a cloak. And the angle's engineered in such a way that you walk so far forward to try and challenge him if he's not swinging you off that Kiba, and Answer can deal with you on your walk forward. Answer exposing himself very thoroughly, but no one ready for that aggressive play. Yet again, Queens not at all prepared for any aggression from the attackers, and Answer continues to get it done. Case on the ground, picked back up though, but Disciple has 10 seconds and 3 opponents to deal with. He's somehow allowed to get a plant down for now, because he did it early enough so that they weren't 100% sure that he wouldn't hop right off of it, but now he's stuck behind the bar. Flashbang out to try and cover his escape, but instead he's just flashed himself, and things only getting worse and worse for him until they've eventually come to a crippling end, and Taboo will take the kill, the defuse to boot, and Arcadia, in spite of how rough they looked through those first 3 rounds, may yet be able to reach 4 on defense.
I mean, did I not call it earlier? That we're seeing almost the exact same type of attack from Queens, not getting any entries, taking the exact same amount of time, doing the exact same amount of thing, the exact same result. Arcadia win their defense, and even this one, it's a lot cleaner. I think the last fight with Disciple may have been ugly, but a 3v1 is where you want to be as a team, as a defense, and we see that from Arcadia. Now going back to CC, this is potentially going to be a challenge for Queens. Ideally, Electric plays on those rafters, you have control of the red stairs, and Queens aren't going to be able to allowed to do the previous roam clear that they had. Everything is set up for Arcadia, given that they won basement. But I've said that so much tonight, where it's like, on paper, this will go this way. And it's
Throw the paper out.
It's just not. I like relying
paper
on
out.
I like relying on the paper.
Yes, but the paper has been drawing us in the wrong direction many times. And honestly, since I've thrown the paper out, I've been having a lot more fun with this game, because it's just kind of embracing the chaos of you can't tell what's going to happen. Because consistently, teams trying to do a lot, getting very aggressive, is being rewarded. Because somehow none of these teams are ever ready for aggressive plays like that. They're not setting people up to watch angles from which defenders could really get aggressive. They're kind of just setting up what they anticipate, and, you know. So, about throwing the paper out, I feel like that's the epitome of, you know, yeah, Munchie almost dies falling off a roof as Thermite. That would have been really rough. Instead, you know, still up and will be able to get the wall open. So, that's a nice relief. And it was able to live long enough. Okay.
I mean, maybe it's the same if your Thermite did die.
I didn't realize that activated that quickly. I thought for sure he had
I think it was literally like milliseconds. So
Oh, yeah.
it was very, very close, and I couldn't tell if it was a while. But now Munchie's having to open the con wall. The main double wall is just kind of left by the wayside, given to Rot. Disciple does have the X-Kairos given to open that wall, but with a Kaid in play, at this point you're either going to have to go underneath to destroy, which is still an option given the amount of time, or completely change the attack, and it seems that they're going for the latter, going through construction. Are they aware of Electric walking through Logi, or at least over by the bedroom? I can't say for certain, because nobody looked this way, nor Jerome.
I can. They're not. 2 kills, though, for the attack. 3 kills, 4 kills. It doesn't matter if they're not ready for him. He has to kill everybody, and is now reserved to a very small doorway to get himself back into the site. Electric gets absolutely LeBron no-helped, and is now stuck in a nigh unwinnable situation made impossible by Disciple putting his round to bed. Good attempt by the Azami, but off screen, all of his teammates die, and Arcadia only able to get to 3 defensive rounds.
I really cannot just bet on anything at this point.
I think the funniest thing is that we didn't get to see anyone die, so like we
didn't,
have no idea what
Because
happened.
ideally, like, that flank from
Oh yeah, no,
lodging
we
a
were
bedroom.
watching the most important thing.
Yeah.
Our lovely observer Griffin still did an outstanding job. I
but
just wasn't expecting everyone to die that fast.
nobody was. Arcadia just could not hold their own. It just went so well. I think that's just part of the tier that we're at, I guess. Which I don't like saying that, but I feel like it's kind of true. Like, you're not going to get this much chaos and unknowingness about the attack and the defense unless you are at an uncertain lower tier.
That's what makes it fun. We're thinking too much about, oh, this is what would happen here 10 times out of 10. It's fun. That isn't actually happening. I know it makes your job harder, but it makes it easy for me to get excited and yell at the silly video game because that's what I'm supposed to do tonight. And, well, I've been having a great time. Again, I don't know if you have been, because you have to analyze this, and breaking this down has got to be pretty tough, as I've also been trying to, and it has been definitely tough. But we finally see something that we've seen a lot today and that we know is a constant. Taboo is a pretty good shield player. Has been doing a lot for his teams. He had a very, very funny clutch on Oregon in that last round of that map, trying to win it out for his team. In that case, the Tuberal Bandit combination might be enough to stop both Selmas on the main wall. Meanwhile, if those don't go off, that could be very, very threatening. Oh, but the perfect timing on the Thatcher, and that's going to be enough to get them off anyways. Cloak has been downed inside of Garage, though. A kill from a Claymore as Sunday tries to run out somewhere. Good timing on the Monty, but no, actually bad timing, and he didn't really shoot that much. Babrielle, though, downed afterwards. One done on both sides. 4v3, basically 3v2. Now actually 3v2.
As the chaos stopped, finally. I think almost halfway through the round, I say that. Electric dies, and Mungie's in a great spot over by Oil. Having the advantage, you can take this little flank given that it's a 2v2 on site, but definitely spotted, as you can see with that Z-ping, going the way up secret, and committing to staying in lounge watching the stairs. They can for certainly do that. Just fire away. It is Queens getting themselves that lead and making Arcadia pay for not getting anything done on their defensive end.
Off to an advantage. You're one round into your defensive half. You just came off of a pretty solid site, yet you can still go down to basement, and you're already around in the advantage. This is a great start for Queens, to say the least. A little bit of a rough one from Arcadia. The communication was solid, but a couple misplays between the Monty Shield play not necessarily going as flawlessly as it could have. It definitely didn't go off without a hitch, and then it didn't really go off at all by the end of things. A lot of downed players all across the board, and it just generally felt like Arcadia maybe trying to do a little too much, a little too quickly, that they didn't necessarily have to do. Because if you think about it, you establish some control of Lounge so you don't have to deal with a Vert being used against you late in that round. There wasn't really too much resistance in trying to deal with that. You can take your time dealing with the players on rafters, or dealing with the players that are, or I guess dealing with the main wall is a better way to put it, because that was all they really did. They just tried to get Garage main wall and then get executed from there. And then all you have to do is make sure nobody's downstairs. Yet they tried to do that a little too quickly, and it kind of showed that there was a little bit of sloppy execution that maybe could have been helped by just slumming it down just a little bit and taking a little bit of time to play off your teammates.
Time is nice. But it's hard to balance time in a way that you don't abuse the fact that you have time, because eventually it'll turn against you. And we see that with a lot of teams. We've seen that from Queens on their basement attack, where they get down to around 30 seconds and they're left fumbling. Mutt dies from Disciple. And Was that a spawn peak up on that 3rd floor? Crazy that you throw your smoke. I believe that would be that stairway window. And losing your ram makes this defense a lot harder. It's not the worst thing in the world because Answer on the sledge, you still have an option for wrecking that floor and opening it up, but it's just going to take a lot more. And with the Valkyrie and the ton of C4s, you have to be so careful about treading upon this floor because one C4 and your attack just might be over with the press of a button here.
Button pressed, attack is still not over. Pretty good start for Arcadia, all things considered. A gas canister used on that as well. I really don't like that decision. You're burning a lot of util early, or 1/3 of your util relatively early, and you're not really gaining too much out of that. Disciple doing all this just to lose more HP than his opponents and burn a gas canister much earlier than you would have ideally done so. However, they're still at a man advantage, so you can't really complain about the state of the round for Queens. This is still not a very good start for Arcadia, who by the looks of things just want to drop the hatch with the Osa shield and then try and get a plant down. However, very good defensive setup to deal with that. Still impacts on the board, still a C4, and still some gas canisters.
And Cloak over in Dirt could get a great angle on Munchie, especially because you can tell that they haven't been spotted. And the drone just slowly working its way in, spotting the player over by the AK racks. Now there's a little bit of paranoia on the side of Munchie as they've given up searching for the drone. It ends up back over by the Dirt. Now Munchie fully realizes as the door has been popped. Both angles being covered by that defense. Where is Arcadia's in? Is it going to be the cap doubles? Is it going to be electric and blue? And that's where it seems to happen.
Huge play from him. He comes through blue and gets 2 for it. Not quite securing the second, but that's still a pretty solid start. Munchie is trying to cross over to his teammate on the box, but it isn't really going to work out too well. Disciple, though, that very teammate on that very box, is going to get a kill to avenge his teammate. Cloak almost dies running through his own fire and his opponent's gas, but he's able to get through, able to pick that case back up, and he could definitely use blue to his own advantage, but Answer from behind is able to get a double kill in Arcadia. Split their last 2 players up pretty far apart, but it works. No one expects the sledge in Moto, and nobody expected Arcadia to even us back out after 8.
It goes back to not knowing how it's all gonna fare out, because there's nothing that truly indicates, okay, the attack is going to win this, because it felt like the defense had such a good hold on the actual site itself. Taking electric just completely throws everything into chaos, not even worrying about a player in blue because you have the player over in AC is acceptable. It makes sense, and the fact that the player kind of lets go watching that angle, I don't want to say that they're to blame for the round, but Electric seems like they won it because they were able to take out the player behind AK, take out the player behind AC, which opened up that entry from Dirt where Cloak was able to run in, grab the diffuser, put it down, and then it left up to those other players. It's always a thing where it comes down to one minor decision that can be made within the round, and it's why every player needs to be aware of what's happening, because they have a goal that needs to be completed, needs to be continually refreshed, because they have a powerful point within the round that they need to complete.
Going back down to the basement are Queens, looking to make sure that, well, they can remedy the issues from the round prior. There are definitely plenty of things they could quite easily fix. Don't burn a gas canister that early. Don't burn another C4 that early. Save that for when they start to make their entries. And when you're pretty far away, you can kind of easily guess where they're going. Maybe another thing is don't give them too many opportunities too quickly. That's something Disciple and Sunday are currently doing, but it's an opportunity that Sunday will seize himself, not really giving a chance over to Answer. And now, one of your 2 Vert players and a big piece in winning last round is dead already. That's the second time in a row on this objective that you started things off resoundingly in your own favor. Good trade back, though, by Cloak. Before things get too bad, they're able to kill the Cade And things still, again, not too bad for Arcadia.
You lost the ram before, and you lose the sledge. And for one, you trade ease, and the other one, you trade precision. Disciple is in such a good angle. Don't want to push too aggressively, knowing that they could be caught out, but now they definitely have been spotted. Not going to take the risk. Hopping back on down, getting fully healed on up. And are they just going to head straight back up into lounge?
Yeah.
Committed. They're committed.
Because why wouldn't you, honestly? Give me one good reason why you wouldn't
don't
just
have one.
walk back up. Yeah, exactly. So that's I could get kills. If I'm in blue, it'll take me longer to get kills. I want kills now. I don't want kills later. Anyways, a minute still to go. And speaking of later, we've gone much later in the round and still not too much dealt with by Arcadia. They're only just now opening that moto hatch. But that is a big overextension, a huge mistake from Babrielle. And that's going to make it a lot easier for this attack, though Disciple's on a flank, and if there's one thing nobody's been ready for all day, it's flanks. But they're able to turn on that one before anybody dies. Electric critically low, but still alive. They think Disciple's fallen back off, though. He hasn't quite yet. Still sitting inside of lounge. He's waiting for the proper time to activate. And that's not a terrible play, because that has the potential to get multiple kills. People in any of these positions on the site really don't have that same kind of potential, and it's time for Disciple to activate. He's going to throw the attack for a loop, and he's actually just going to run away. He got his. He wants to go back to the objective, and he wants to do it now. Arcadia still aren't aware that he has no opportunities to kill them upstairs anymore. They're dropping the hatch. The gas is in the picture. Tebu needs to start getting this plant down, but the player from AKs will kill him. Matt got his, but he didn't get his team the round. That goes to Queens in resoundingly dominant fashion.
One player can make a difference. All the way back into the pre-show, before anything happened, I talked about how one player can make the difference, and Disciple was that player. Not only that they annoy a lot of those attackers over in stock and then make the rotate back up and eventually find a kill. They got that smoke canister off, forcing the player off of the diffuser. And at that point, time was the attack's worst enemy. Something that I mentioned, how you cannot abuse the fact that sometimes you are gifted so much time to work with, and Arcadia simply did not acknowledge the fact that they were utilizing their time poorly and came back to bite them, and now they're going to have to attack this CCTV site. They bring out the Monty, bring out the Capital, which a lot of times indicates that they're going to go for a rafters push where you can throw the Monty on the stairs, you know, maybe drain out some of the ADSs with flashbangs, ash nades, and then fireball up top. Get a little bit of a pinch with the Monty to force these players into the uncomfortable positions, or eventually they can die. Once you have Raptors, you have great control over the site. That's the idea, however.
If there's one thing we've learned today, it's that these two teams, when it comes to the ideas and the execution, there is a big gap. And a lot of that gap consists of players like Disciple stepping in and making all the difference. I haven't been tracking opening kills, I will be totally honest. But if I was, I'd be willing to bet that on this map, at least guaranteed at least 6 of them, I'd probably guess more like 7 or 8 of them, have gone in favor of Queens. They have been consistently threats earlier than everybody on Arcadia. And it hasn't been just one guy. Sometimes it's Disciple getting active really early. A lot of times on attack, it was Sunday on Ash doing a great job on his entry picks. So overall, a masterclass at making it happen first on both sides of the map, attack and defense. Now Taboo needs to find some kind of impact here up on Rafters.
You still have the Monty there.
Oh my
Finding that
gosh.
kill there means you can focus a lot more on the Monty, of which Sunday on the bottom can find the headshot. The connection was simply not there. Didn't unsheath in time to make it so that Azami had to focus on you. Instead, you could worry about the player over in the doorway. Disciple hit him with the pistol. It's a flawless round for Queens, and they are one round away from ending tonight with a W.
This guy has been on another level tonight. That's 16 for him. across this map, and he's been looking solid from the start. If there was anybody you wanted to point, or 15, my mistake, I saw the 13 after he had gotten the spawn peak last round, and just added the spawn peak on top of that, even though it didn't have to be added. Anyways, still, 3.0 KD with 3 assists to boot. You have to look towards somebody on that Queen's roster. You look towards Disciple. It's as simple as that. He's been doing an outstanding job. And at a certain point, it's just Arcadia wondering what can they do when he's floating. Because he has absolutely been so. The one round that they actually managed to win, they found a fight onto Disciple, won that, and then still had a little bit of extra time to work with. He's been the anchor. He's been not even like the anchor in terms of staying on site, because he hasn't been doing that an awful lot. But he's kind of been what keeps Queens in it, even in situations where they probably shouldn't be. And in situations where they're in good spots, he is the one who excels beyond everybody else. Sunday had a great attacking half. He's slowed down a little bit. Everybody else on the team negative, but Disciple is continuing to step up. I don't want to chalk their team performance up to just him, because he's been having some wonderful support, some great droning on the defensive side. He undoubtedly has great droning on the attacking side. He undoubtedly has great info to work with on the defensive side, but still, he just looked I'm very impressed by his individual skill after watching tonight. I feel like he's got a bright future if he chooses to take it.
And in these quote-unquote lower tiers, I've been told that sometimes you see the game as like a 1v9. And it's about proving yourself, and all of the players that can prove that they are good players get put together on a team, and that's kind of what makes these greater players. It's how you kind of work your way up through the ranks. You focus on yourself, which sounds selfish in a way, but when you are in, let's say T4, a lot of times you aren't going to have a consistent team over and over again, which isn't the same as collegiate. Absolutely not. Collegiate, most of the time, you go to school with these players. You hang around these players in real life. And so they might actually be friends. Grass Eater ends up walking away right before player walks into their line of sight. Or could have been, but at least you don't end up with a body in the ground.
That's a very good start for Arcadia. We're 30 seconds in, and nobody has died yet.
Woo!
Progress, people. Progress. We are making progress. And in this case, when Arcadia are able to get comfortable, they've been doing a lot better. That goes without saying, but still. Arcadia able to get comfortable, in this case, towards the jacuzzi wall. They've started to reach that open with the Selmas. Thatcher grenade to help, and well, things look pretty comfortable for this attack for the time being. It is very much a more anchor-heavy setup from the Queen's defense, which isn't normally where they thrive. They're kind of letting Queens play their game, and now establishing that crossfire, that cutoff inside of construction, is going to be big, especially once they drone through and recognize that no one's currently inside of cache or construction. This is a very open to take half of the map. But we've seen this happen before. Arcadia, it's just phantom pressure. But they act like they're dealing with full roam clears, and they take a lot of time to deal with roamers that aren't necessarily there.
Munchie has a good angle as well. And if Arcadia takes this at a very slow pace, it'd be perfect. Okay, the drone has spotted them now. So Taboo should face Munchie, and the opportunity of getting a sneaky little angle kill onto the Monty falls away. Time continues ticking down. Arcadia has yet to walk into construction. Haven't taken control of Logi. Haven't opened up the hot tub wall. They are going to have to barrel themselves into the site. With a Monty, you are going to be able to create a good distraction to draw their fire, but I haven't seen enough of Taboo doing that and Arcadia getting kills alongside him. That's a great way to change my mind. Finding a kill your own. Logi has been taken for Arcadia, and this is the perfect opportunity for them.
Continued advantage to Arcadia. They're only going to get better from here. At least they only have been. However, Munchie and Babrielle, I was talking about how much they've been kind of supporting, but they're not necessarily showing up in the kills department. this would be the perfect time to do so. Taboo taken to about half of his HP left, but that means they've identified Munchie very far from his teammates. He can be isolated. The diffuser's on the ground, but Gabriel is going to be dealt with right after, and Munchie's so far away. He doesn't have his C4 left either, so he can't play from below, and he can't walk up the staircase, or else he'll die to Cloak. We reach max regulation on the final map of the series, and how fitting an end it is for such a close series thus far.
It's another opportunity where one individual player makes the big difference. Taboo, a lot of times Montaigne isn't used as a player to entry, but in that specific instance, Taboo does. And it works when 90% of the time it shouldn't, but it gives Arcadia another round. And I don't think anybody on this team is complaining at all to get another shot at potentially taking this thing to overtime, winning the entire map, because it would really seem to go this far, win that first map, and just barely miss out on winning the entire thing. But it's going to have to come through a basement attack, something that the attack, as a side in general, whether you're Queens or Arcadia, has struggled with overall.
An attack looked so good coming into this map at the start of it. Queens up 2-1 on their attacks. Arcadia have gotten 2 attacking rounds. Normally, you're starting on the attacking side. You're thinking, okay, this is all right. We got our 2. Ironically, they were supposed to start on the attacking side, but Queens end up starting there instead. And, you know, due to the server issues tonight, we choose not to rehost. And as a result, Queens actually start off at a pretty good advantage. I would say going 3-3 on your attacking half to start is much better than starting with a 4-2 defensive half, because that's just a basic half, you know? Or 3-3, depending on how they do in this round. It's not starting so well for them, as there's live info on where Disciple is. He's trying to skirt away, and somehow he's allowed to. Taboo, so good in last round, but just barely not proactive enough at the start of this one. He lets the 2 Baral get away, and with how good Disciple has been, I hope that's not going to be a mistake that bites him in the butt later.
You know, we've seen a lot of attention on like C4ing these areas, taking a lot of attention to make sure that the attack can't easily get access. But with one C4 used, Disciple's gonna have an angle. It doesn't really get anything. 1 of 3 C4s being utilized means that there is still a lot of potential for that post-plant situation, and the Zoto canisters can be used to drain that time, which just makes the C4s even more emboldened. Let me see if Disciple will just zap that. That's the whole reason why you see like 2x Kairos used, is because you only need 4. You've got 18 of them. You can just continually cycle them, even if they get destroyed. Overall, it's just a time sink for Arcadia.
Yeah.
And at this stage in the game, can they afford that?
Queens, I like what I'm seeing from Munchie in Dirt. He's getting proactive. He's actively holding that control, because Dirt's something that Arcadia have typically used quite frequently to their own advantage. And given that it looks like they're going to go for a church execute, because that's the only hatch they could manage to get open, that hatch inside of Moto, they're going to need some kind of lurk play to come through, but both of these are being accounted for. You've got a player in Oil Pit watching for the walk down secret, and you've got a player in Dirt watching for the walk in Dirt. Neither one of those will be able to be used effectively. However, Cloak might be able to break through with these Candelas, and Answer might be able to just frag his way through his problems, as that's the opener. That's a huge kill for the Sledge. 30 seconds to go. Mutt's been knocked down by something. I believe a Frostmat. Flashes go down, but you're facing a Warden. You're not going to save yourself in that situation with a flashbang. But the Warden couldn't save himself from the flank. Mutt on another lurk play is able to get the kill. Disciple's looking at the wrong side, but he's still able to get the next frag. But Taboo getting the plant down at the moment. Munchie needs to start to activate, but he's way too passive, and now he's way too alone. Cloak's killed his teammate, and it's only left to the Jaeger. He's 5-7 on the game. If he closes it here, he'll go positive, and his team will win. He starts it with that, missing a couple of the next shots, though, and not looking in the right spots. Cloak gets the final kill of the round, and we go to overtime.
We're here. 2 rounds, Arcadia gets a second chance to potentially take this entire thing home. Her attacks have hit the mark when they need it to. There's one area that Queens are going to start where the attack failed to even get off the ground in specific instances. Cash CCTV, the Monty Capital combo once again being utilized, and we have seen how Queen's defense rips it apart because I kind of criticized Taboo's Monty, saying that, you know, the whole point of a Monty is that you take your opponent's attention away from the player that they want to be looking at, because, you know, you can't deal with 2 things at once when he is directly in your face about to shoot you. We didn't see much of that from Taboo on CCTV, but Taboo did that on Jim when they essentially entry'd for the entire team. But simply how Raptors is created, you're not going to be allowed to do something like that with the keeper barriers in play, with the ADSs that are in play as well. So Arcadia need to shift some things around, because clearly it did not work with the flawless round that was there prior.
Well, Queens finally get their chance to start on the defensive side. Just happened in overtime, which honestly, maybe they're not too disappointed about that. I think it's safe to say that that was not at all what caused this. As you go 50-50 both halves, it's pretty clear that in overtime, it should still be a slight defensive favor because you get to choose the sites you're better on, but it hasn't even really felt like the sites have made too much of a difference. These attackers are able to win any attack on any site whenever they so choose. But typically the big decider of it is that opening kill. Queens have been so good at finding openers consistently. They haven't found one quite yet, and Taboo is already working his way into Garage. This is a strategy that hasn't quite worked so well for them in the past rounds they've tried it, being adjusted for here by Munchie as well. But Queens, again, still haven't killed anybody quite yet. Oh, he's barely got up the stairs.
I think it's good patience from Munchie, because there's nothing saying that has to pull the trigger. I don't think that Arcadia know that the Jaeger is even there. And as long as Gabriel is still on the rafters, they're still having a player provide that defensive
Nice
pressure. But Gabriel is gone. Tapu once again being that entry, and Munchie can't hit the shots. And now Arcadia, they're giving Raptors, they are given 2 extra kills, now 3. And Arcadia, what failed before, seems to be succeeding in spades.
C4 from Sunday is not going to do the trick. Good timing from Taboo, and good job moving a shield into the right direction. They get the concussions on a Sunday just so he's thrown off even more, but they're not really trying to get the kill. They're just trying to slow him down. Disciple gets aggressive. It's his time to activate, but he doesn't know about the red stairs player and the pistol. In this case, not enough. Sunday gets 1, almost give it a second, actually is give it a second, and 1's knocked down, so give him a second. Let him take his time, but Answer doesn't do just that. Too quick of a swing from the Bandit, capitalized on by the Sledge. Arcadia around to the good.
They've been just on a roll. And even Disciple cannot stop that roaring train that's been going down these tracks. Can they finish the job? All the way since map 1, which was 3 hours ago, Queens have struggled to finish the job. And are they gonna, is that going to actually be realized within the entire match themselves? And Arcadia completing what would be a fairly good comeback, given how momentum has been spiraling in the way of Queens ever since map 2, honestly. And Queens have been rolling their own way forward, making it seem like they are in control despite their initial losses from time to time. It's going to be defense. Site that we have seen Queens try to do the same thing over and over and over again, and it's failed multiple times, but they have to succeed to get one more shot.
5 seconds to go.
Well, give them a try. Let them take their chance.
Objective is to defuse a bomb.
No reason not to. Queens had a pretty solid attacking half, but like you said, this was far from their best attacking site. when it comes to how productive they were in getting things done. They were normally very good at clearing some of the roams that Arcadia would go for and finding those entry picks on players that are far out, using their superior intel and really solid entries from Sunday and Disciple. However, in this case, there is no roam to speak of. They even brought the Jackal to try and deal with the roam. They have some zero cameras for live intel. Normally, those are good for flank watch. There isn't necessarily a ton of application for those anymore. There is still the possibility of secret or oil pit or something like that. But the whole map is clear. This does mean, though, that Queens are able to take a lot of control very quickly, and they've kind of reached their flow state in that. Even though they haven't attacked in quite some time, they're still as productive as ever when it comes to getting the control quickly and starting to put pressure on the defense as fast as they can. Impact tricking on the kitchen hatch is going to be very helpful for Taboo, and that's going to be even more so. An opening kill for Grass Eater, but no! Electric's killed his teammate, and it's still an advantage to Queens.
Not now. It's such a pivotal point. If you can have players hold these angles, I think it's not over. The fact that you're still going to be able to look through these smokes, you're still going to fire off lasers, and with surrogate gates, goo mines, Kiva barriers, it's not all over. One thing that Arcadia always had was time.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Electric in such a good position. I don't think he's been spotted. Despite the fact that players are holding this angle, it seems like Electric is just in such a great place that if either of these two players walk forward, especially together, I think Queens as a team might be done for the night.
They haven't been checking these kinds of plays all night. They've been completely unaware of the re-aggresses attempted by Arcadia, and it might be that very thing from Electric that's able to win them this map and end them this series. Electric, absolutely so, living up to his namesake in the final round of the game, or at least what should be. It will be if Gabriel can't actually make something happen. He has got the first, though. So that's made things a little better for the time being. Walking straight up the middle of the hallway. This likely not expected. Has some info as well, but they're ready for him. You gotta be ready for the AK's angle. He is not. They weren't ready for Electric. They weren't ready for Mutt. And they were not ready for the Arcadia squad that came through in overtime. AU wins it after an OT map 3. A very long night. And it ends in good fashion for the Knights.
Tech issue.